So tonight we're going to be having a panel discussion in the Discord member server, and I'm looking forward to it. It was kind of a last minute thing, so not sure how long we'll go, but if the conversation's flowing, we'll be around for a few hours for sure. So want to welcome friends of the channel. I got Forrest and True Detective just popped in. It's good to see you both. How you doing?
Hey there, FC. Glad to be here. I had a bunch of Matrix duties to take care of.
Always
and,
fun.
Now nice to relax. Yeah. How you doing, you guys?
I'm doing. How was your holiday?
I was laboring.
Laboring on Labor Day?
Huh?
Laboring on Labor Day?
You know it.
Laborious Matrix duties?
Of course.
How about you, Forrest? What are you up to, man?
Hey, what's up? Nothing extraordinary.
No?
Wish I had something exciting to share, but
It's okay. Always, we always pick up the conversations and it gets moving once we start spilling. So, anyways, not sure. Is anything on either of your minds?
Forrest was talking about something, but if you wanted to continue with that, Forrest, or...
I asked if you had pets. That was it.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, that's probably not a... Yeah, silly. But yes, I have 2 cats, Forrest. Thank you. Anyway, what do you have on your mind, FC?
Not a heck of a lot. I think, pets are fun. Sorry, I was kind of distracted.
Yeah, I know. I got a little distracted too.
I don't know. Pets is a topic we could start with. Why not? Right? I mean,
What the hell?
they're some of the best part of the Matrix. They really are. I mean, dogs, cats, and all types of animals, and they provide much joy for us, and it's important to, I think for our mental health, really, if you enjoy having a pet, of course. The difficult side is when we lose them, because unfortunately many of them don't last as long as we are here. I mean, I guess unless you got like a parrot or something.
Oh yeah, parrots do live a while, or a tortoise.
Yeah, tortoise is another one too.
I miss having dogs. I used to have dogs, but I just have so much going on. I don't think I would be able to spend as much time as is necessary for a dog. That
Yeah, they require more work.
Right.
Yeah,
But I love my.
I'm sorry.
I love my cats, but they drive me crazy. Also. I know Forrest has a dog, and I know you have a dog, or you have 2 dogs.
2 dogs, yep. What kind of dog you got for us?
He's mixed. The vets say that there's some American Pit Bull in him, and a couple of hunting breeds. He's kind of tough, kind of a rough dog. He has that blue smile kind of facial features,
Oh,
They look at their smile all the time.
that's sweet.
I've seen his dog, not in person, but on video, and he's a real cutie. But yeah, he would be intimidating to some other dogs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love pets. There's so many pets out there for adoption, and they get such a bad rap. Or pit mixes, mastiffs, Rottweilers. A bunch of them get real bad raps, but they're great dogs. Just depends on anything else, the environment that they grow up in.
Yep, how they're raised.
Just like humans, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You can grow up in a really rough situation and turn out bad, and doesn't mean you can't turn yourself around, but at the same time, you can become a product of your environment, depending on certain situations, or many.
And sometimes it's not even the dog's fault if something does go wrong. I saw a story recently. I don't think it's a recent story, but I saw it recently of a family who had, I think, 2 dogs. They might have, I can't remember what breed. It might have been Dobermans. And they hired a dog walker. And the girl, she was a young girl, maybe 20s or something, and she came and met the dogs, and they got along well and everything. Nothing was amiss. And then I think it was her first time that she went to go walk them when the family was away. They attacked and mauled her. But, in their minds, it was a stranger coming in. And they had never been violent before. And she was really torn up. But, yeah, you have to be careful about stuff like that, too.
Yeah, it's crazy. You just, you never know. I mean, they got their own triggers sometimes, just like we all do. And, but at the end of the day, dogs have always just made my life better. Like, cats too. I mean, I only helped, when I was living in an apartment a long time ago. There was a cat that was, a kitten, real baby kitten, cutest little thing. And it was, she was like, there was a blizzard outside, and she was kind of stuck near a sewer outside of when I walked out of my apartment. There was like a sewer to the right, and she was like tucked in there, and we didn't think she'd make it, because just with the weather, she was so young. I don't even know if she had a mother, because she kept coming back. We put food out for a while, and then she kind of started to trust us, and then we put the food leading into the apartment to kind of lure her in, and then kind of rehabbed her a little bit. And unfortunately, my pit bull at the time, she wasn't in agreement with the cat being there, so it became a big problem. But we rehabbed her, and then we're able to foster her out to a home that could take care of her, or adopt her, I should say.
Oh, good. I'm glad that worked out. Yeah.
Really wanted to keep her, though. She was really freaking cute and sweet.
It's funny how cats usually come to people instead of the other way. With dogs, you seek out a dog, and you find whether it's from a shelter or whatever. But cats seem to just appear. They call it the cat distribution system.
Yes.
And it's like, you talk about when people get dogs, they jump through all these hoops to get a dog. But with a cat, it's like, yeah, I found her at the dumpster, And that's exactly what happened with my cats. We didn't have any pets, but we heard this crying of kittens, and turned out they were on our roof. And there were 5 of them, all identical litter of 5 females. And so we rescued them because they did. I don't know what happened to their mother, but we just happened to have our neighbor who was a vet assistant, so she bottle fed them and did everything that she needed to do, because she knew more than we did. And once she got them to the point of 6-7 weeks old and they were ready, we took 2 of them and found homes for the other 3. So that's the cat district system in play.
Live and in action.
That's right.
So have you had cats pretty much your whole life, or any other pets? You said dogs, when you were younger?
Yeah, I had some cats when I was young, and some dogs when I was young. The most recent dogs I had were a beagle mix and a purebred miniature dachshund. And they were just wonderful. Oh, I miss them so much.
Yeah, they're really cute. Good friend of mine had 2 of them. They were really sweet.
Yeah, miniature dachshunds are adorable, and so are beagles.
Yeah.
I never had any big mean dogs or anything like that, but I do love all dogs. I wouldn't mind having a Rottweiler or something like that.
Yeah, Rotties are so sweet. My good friend's sister had one, and he was just such a big baby. I mean, just a big baby.
I've noticed that too about the Rottweilers. I had a friend who had one, and he just loved me. Every time I'd come, he'd jump on me and pretty much take me to the floor, but it was all with love, nothing ferocious.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a lot of weight behind them.
Yeah.
My pit used to she was always excited, obviously, to see you, right? Or most people. And sometimes if you were sitting on the couch and say she was like way down the hall in the kitchen eating some food, something would trigger her and she'd just charge full speed at you, like jump in your lap on the couch and then just immediately flip around for you to pet her belly. But it was like, but she would charge full speed and you're like, oh shit. Girl had a lot of weight on her too, all muscle.
Yeah. Oh, look who's here, Mal. I was hoping you'd come back. I thought I saw you in the PC earlier, and then you were gone. How you doing, Mal?
Hi there today. I'm doing good. And you?
Oh, good.
Hey, brother.
Good to see you and Forrest. And FC.
Man, it's good to see all of you.
Yeah, I had some internet connection problems a few minutes ago.
Oh, what else is new?
Yeah.
It's just all the time.
All the time.
It just never ends. So, you have any pets, Mo?
Not right now. I've had in the past many, but not right now. Yeah.
What would you have in the past? Dogs, cats?
Yeah, both dogs and cats, and I love them both. Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing creatures. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're just really special.
Yeah.
It's like they have the love bomb 24/7 within them.
Oh yes.
Or at least most of the time.
Especially dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. No matter what happens, every time they see you, they wag their tail, and they have this face of happiness when they see you, no matter what. So they're amazing.
Extremely loyal.
Yeah.
Extremely loyal. Emil says, animals, trees, nature, some of the best things the Matrix has going for it. I know such things will be used against me, so there's that. Yeah, it's a good comment. I couldn't agree more. Animals, trees, nature, those are such big things that are just, like you said, some of the best things the Matrix has going for it. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, like I think I've talked about on the channel before how, I could totally see how dogs, nature, and music were probably used to, and just nature, I don't know if I said that. Yeah, dogs, nature, music, and probably just pets and animals in general are probably what played a role in me coming back here this time. Just taking a guess. Just because of my heavy connection to them.
Funny you say that. I feel the same. Music, animals, yes.
Yeah.
All of those things. Maybe that's what brought me back. But I still am on that idea that we were talking about before, that possibly in the last life we knew that the next life would be the last, and our last life might have been preparation for this one, because we knew it would be last. I still feel like I have dropped breadcrumbs for myself. I see too many synchronicities that are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think it's, we've talked about that, and it's just, it seems like there's way too much to at least for me to deny it. I mean, it's so prevalent. Even some of the stuff that I've gone into digging around about my past lives, and it just a lot of it makes sense. And like having these like strong desires, like for nature and animals and music, and just, I mean, music, good Lord, just, and then you can have, nature and music combine as one. I mean, it's just like, it's like just incredible. And it's, but all of that is about the sensory experience, right? It's just all about us feeding into our addiction to the sensory experience, our connection to it, and being blindsided. So attachments, just like everything else. And I'm sure there's some family stuff involved there, and past loves and all that stuff that kind of has come around full circle in some form this lifetime too.
And
Yeah,
it is
I thought of that, TD, too.
I'm sorry, Mao. What'd you say, bro?
Yeah, I thought of that a lot, too, of what TD said. Yeah, I have been thinking about that, too. As if somehow we knew that, or I knew that I was going to be lured again into this awful matrix, but at the same time, like I don't know, something like in the back of my mind, like I had a plan, and I said, okay, I'm gonna be lured again into this, but this time I'm gonna make a life script such that it might be the last time, or I would like it to be the last time, something like that. I don't know if that's what you were saying, TD,
Yeah.
but I agree.
Oh yeah, that's precisely what I was saying. Yeah, sometimes these synchronicities are so insane that I know something inside me just tells me they're from myself, like clues, like
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, somehow in a certain way, not a very awesome life, but not that bad either. Like something pre-planned to get you to the point, probably, as we all hear, at the point in which you realize that that you don't want to come back definitely anymore. But in a sense, yeah, it's like like trying to cheat the matrix, even though you knew that you were going to be sent back here again, trying to cheat it somehow.
Yes. So well said. I mean, that's just, you really encapsulated it beautifully there, brother. And it's just wow. Yeah, I mean, this is a question I want to throw out there, and I might try to take a poll for this one too. What do you guys think about some form of, see, like, if you think about it, when we're here, we have the conscious and subconscious mind. I think there's probably a form of that in the astral. We could obviously refer to the memory wipe too, and that existing in both places, because it does. But do you think it's kind of something like that, where it's like, except our awareness is a lot more present and a lot more aware, I guess, but because we have still kind of chosen to interact and follow attachments and, you know, go to the light, do whatever we're doing, and still kind of stay stuck in this illusion, even if we kind of were close in past lives to getting out. Do you think it's like almost like a subconscious decision in the astral? Because I find it really interesting that, you know, True Detective feels that way, Mao feels that way, I feel that way. Forrest, do you feel that way? Do you feel like your path and awakening and all that has kind of hinted at the possibility that, you know, with the way you plan this life script, experience this life script, and kind of been through your journey of truth and spiritual kind of evolution, should we say, do you feel that you may have yourself picked out this specific time as well?
I don't really know. I get a vibe of a consumer relationship with the Matrix. I'm not saying it's a school that I apply to or whatever. Who knows, right? I don't know, but I think it could be a service, like a horrible service, you know. And I could have acted as a very stupid consumer, you know. And if that nature applies to any hypothesis, maybe there could be some customization. But I think that level of detail, you know, about our engagement with this, I have no idea. You know, I really don't. You know what I mean, right?
Oh, completely.
We
Yeah,
consume things that we regret, right? And this could be a horrible consumer experience, you know.
I totally hear you, man. Yeah, I mean, I'll say I don't know either. It's like a strong kind of gut feeling, I guess, at least when it comes to how I look at it. I want to just, I think the poll is really interesting. If everybody, if the poll on YouTube, I'll just read it out. I just put out there, do you have a pet? First option A was dog, B was cat, C was bird, and then D was no. It's really interesting because dog is 30%, cat is 30%, and bird is 2%, and then no is 38%. It's like almost, it's crazy. 30, 30, 38, basically. 30, 30, 30, 32, and 38. So interesting how that, it's like a divides right down the line there. Okay, so that was a vote of 53 people. I always forget to use the poll thing. It's such a great tool. I wish all platforms had it, but I forgot to put this out on others. But so I'm going to start a poll now just to see. And based on the conversation we just had, do you feel that you were, I'm limited to 100 characters. Do you feel that you were, this is essentially the question, do you feel that you were possibly close in your last lifetime and that you picked this time period to reincarnate and like that it was kind of a convenient or purposeful choice to come here during this time period? I mean, it's something I've thrown out there and kind of going to add on to what we were talking about. And we've talked about it on the streams before too. How I just feel like it's just way too perfect that most of us have kind of looked at everything going on, if kind of not everyone is on board necessarily, and some are kind of new to this topic or on the fence, and then there's a whole host of us who kind of see it for what it is and acknowledge it as, you know, pretty much a happening, right? But at the same time, I find it interesting, at least for my path, and I know I could speak for Dawn and Mao as well. Forrest is kind of on the, you know, doesn't know, but, you know, throwing some things out there. But I'm curious about the collective of everybody else here and anyone who may join the panel later on. If you're listening in the background and join the panel later, I'd really love to hear others chime in on this topic, including when we take the poll. So, do you feel that you picked this time period as like a more opportune moment to reincarnate because you would have access to kind of so much information and realizations about what this place is? I seriously believe that, and if you think about it, this is something I've said so many times. We have chosen the perfect time, whether it was actually, you know, chosen with the intention of, you know, being able to expose this place and eventually liberate ourselves as individuals. You know, that's obviously up to you to decide. But think about it. Like, just think about how long the internet's been around. It hasn't been around that much, and the internet itself is going to be it continues to be more and more clamped down with each passing day, month, and year. And it only gets worse. Just think about how much information was available in the past that has since been difficult to find. I mean, you can find stuff if you kind of know how to do alternative searching and all that stuff, but the matrix itself has made it very, very difficult to find truth, to find real research, to find a number of things. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be Soul Trapper related at all. It's just that across the board, the internet is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and search engines are all but worthless. I mean, we all know the big G is completely worthless. DuckDuck is a shit show too. Where it used to be good, complete garbage. So, I mean, finding information that isn't controlled, isn't shilled out to the hills, is very difficult. And I think we just kind of picked this amazing moment where we had access, where it was like the wild, wild west of the internet, and they clamped down and clamped down and clamped down. But if you really, really think about it, that moment was a very short period of time, and it's already pretty much, it's already pathetic, like where things are today. And I can't even imagine what it's going to look like 3, 5, 10 years from now, and how that's going to how the landscape of the internet's going to change. And I think there's going to be a whole op on that. I mean, we can even get into that if you guys want to. I mean, they've all but told us that something like that's coming, and I think it's right around the corner. I don't know when, but there's going to be a whole thing that happens. I mean, they've done exercises and all that stuff for a mass kind of internet quote unquote outage or hacking that occurs, and there's a whole reason behind that, obviously, to further their agendas. But what do you think? Do you think that you just happened to pick this time? Or, I mean, it's okay to say no, right? But I just, something in my gut, and based on, you know, just having this small conversation today too, it's interesting to hear others talk about that too. So do you feel that you picked this specific moment to incarnate for your liberation? Let's say, so I'll put yes, no, and maybe. Okay. So just throwing that out there, right? Just curious what you guys think. I'm going to pop this poll on all the platforms. And Mao, True Detective, Forrest, feel free to chime in while I put these polls up on the other platforms briefly.
Bert, let's welcome Dunfor, aka Harold. Wow, good to have you here, Harold. I've been missing you.
Hey there, how you doing?
Hey, oh, hey. I wish I had the Harold meme to pop up.
Hey, Harold.
Hey,
How you doing,
I kind
man?
of joined a little late. I'm good. How about you?
Doing well. It's great to hear your voice, brother.
You as well. It's been a little while.
Yeah, man. How's the new crib, the new job, everything going all right?
Oh, everything's good. I'm completely entrenched in the Matrix right now. Just work. That's it. Just trying to survive.
You're
It's been
doing
crazy.
more security though, or
I'm sorry?
do you have
Security?
better security in like?
Oh,
security?
yes. Yes, big time. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you get the security, but then, that comes with more stress, though.
Yes, of
It's like
course.
there's more, like, responsibility, so it's like, is it security or... But, yeah, I'm doing okay right now. I almost hate to say that, because then it's like, bullshit could be right around the corner. So, I'm sure everybody can relate to that, but...
For sure. Well, everything okay with the kids and stuff? Wife
Yeah,
all right?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Everybody's okay so far.
Good.
Yeah, we're doing okay. Just kind of experiencing everything. Life has been insane. This whole year has been just like wild in all aspects. It just, to me, I don't know. I really don't pay attention to world stuff, but it's almost like you can't escape everything that's happening. But it feels like the dial's been turned all the way the hell up, it's just like everything's so rapid. Time, energies, it's just like it just feels impossible to keep up with.
Time is insane. So I mean,
Yeah.
time. I mean, that's another poll to ask. Like, this time has been sped up like crazy.
Yeah. This year is almost over. I just can't even believe it.
It's freaking September.
It's insane, and I really feel it. It just feels more intense. I feel like time has slowly kind of been dialing up, but just recently, it's just like just all the way up.
I don't know. I've felt it like the last maybe 2-3 years, somewhere around there. Just maybe even a little longer, somewhere around there. Like, it just seems like the years are flying by.
Yeah, big time.
So, what else been going on, man? Any interesting experiences in life? Anything you want to share?
Oh man, I mean, I could be here all day. Just the stuff that's happened just this year. I wouldn't even know where to start. It's just,
Would love to hear from you, man.
I've been
Floor's yours.
I've been trying to meditate a lot more lately, and that's been an experience. I've always had a hard time like meditating, and it's meditation. I don't know if I could say this on your channel, but through ketamine.
No, that's
I
good.
don't know if you could talk about.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. I've tried that, and it's been like working magic for me. And it's, I mean, just working on breathing, and it's like the simplest thing, like just breathing and just taking 10 to 15 minutes out of your day just to like just breathe and relax, and it can just work miracles. You just got to take the time to like just breathe, and it just helps so much,
It does.
to get through stuff. But yeah, just on top of that, just meditation, and I mean, I see you got astral travel on the title here. I've been doing a lot of that. And I feel like I really wish I just had all the money in the world. So if I had just a cushion of money, I can just, and then I could just focus on astral travel. I can do it every day. I know I have no issues leaving my body. Like I could do it on command, but I just don't have, that much time.
Yeah, that's the problem, man. It's I think it's all part of it. Just eat away our time, our energy, and so we can't discover the big things.
Yep. Yeah, I wish. It's just because I can't. I can do it constantly, but I can't control it. So it's really frustrating. I want to get to the point where I can just do it at will, and not have blockages and things getting in the way. I would love to just sit there and astral travel all the time and try to figure stuff out. It's always so fun. Or sometimes it's not that fun, but most of the time when I wake up out of it, if I'm having a bad experience, then I'm just like, okay, that wasn't so bad. That was kind of exhilarating, but yeah.
Nice. So that's awesome that you're, I mean, the meditation practice, I think, is such a catalyst for helping us go outside the body, because it kind of just, it's like a training program. It really is. I can't suggest it enough. Of course, got to talk about, it depends on who you are, your makeup, your mental health at the time, like, because some dark stuff could come in meditation, so it's not all love and light and amazing all the time, but it can be that more often than not, like a lot of the times. But it's just up to I think I always talk about like how if you're not in the right headspace, having a rough day or maybe even a rough week, couple days or something, it's okay to take some time off meditation, or you try meditating and see if you're okay with it. Like if you're doing all right. But if you find like it's kind of agitating you, or like you're losing sleep, that's another thing. Like sometimes people can lose sleep with it. So those are just kind of like small side effects. Some of them could be bigger than small, but overall, it's an amazing tool for us to just find kind of like a centering of our existence, our being in everyday life. And that's awesome that you kind of have that going and are able to go outside the body too. So what kind of travels have you had as a result of it?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because most of the meditation experiences that I've been going through has been kind of rough and traumatic. It is definitely not love and light. It's mainly to just, deal with all the world stuff, the trauma head on, and I think, man, I really think meditation for a community like this could even be more difficult, because being this aware is really hard. On top of things that you've gone through in the physical life, just, when you try to contemplate what this reality is, that's traumatic in and of itself too. So that's what I've been experiencing with meditation too. I'm just like dealing with the Harold's life, and then I'm also thinking about existence a lot, and it's like, it's pretty tough. But you come out of it a little bit better, because, instead of ignoring it, like, damn, this is scary, like, you just kind of facing it head on and breathing through it, and just, things come up. You're in that, like, that inner flicker inside you, that spark just kind of like ignites, it's like, I got this. I'm a fucking warrior, I can deal with this. But it's not, like you said, it's not all love and light. You have to face the scary stuff, and
That's right.
It gets better.
And you know what? Like, facing the kind of the scary stuff head on, like, there's something that is in a weird, twisted, demented way that is like cleansing about it, because it helps you handle that stuff next time, hopefully a a little bit easier. But it sometimes it could get ramped up too. It really depends on what's going on in our lives. That's a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, you're able to handle things a little bit better as long as you are in the right headspace to not let it. I don't know. Be an intrusive SOB in your waking life all the time. It's finding that happy medium and just kind of working with it as best as possible. But it's good that you share that too, Harold, because it's really important. That's stuff that everyone needs to hear. There are very few people out there that are willing to talk about the negative sides of meditation too. There's a lot of good, but there's a lot of craziness and could get dark. It could be awesome. It could be beautiful. It could be serene and content. It could be all those things. And it's important that everybody hear that information. And all these so-called gurus out there, they just always happen to leave that out.
Yep. Absolutely. It's a big deal because that stuff's sitting in there. It's sitting inside you anyways. You know, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's better to bring it up to the surface and talk to your younger self and even, you know, younger self, your older self, everything, and just try to heal yourself through dealing with it, you know, and pushing it aside. And like you were kind of saying, all love and light is not how it always goes, and it's probably not the best idea too.
Yeah, exactly. I want to thank RM for joining the Last Timers Club, and appreciate you. Welcome aboard. It's glad to have you with us. And so what about some of your travels or OBEs or anything interesting to share on that front? Any profound realizations, experiences, anything?
Not really profound realizations. It's mostly been pretty chaotic. A lot of them kind of happen the same way, where I kind of violently pop out of my body. It's not really smooth in any. It's always jarring. The sounds you hear, the feelings, and all that. But one time I would call it successful is that I actually popped out of my body pretty gently. It wasn't like very loud and scary. And okay, yeah, this will be a good one. It's the one I remember the most clear, and I was so excited as it was happening. I almost had to. I was trying to calm myself down because like, oh my god, it's happening, and I popped out, and I was actually in my room. This is like one of the few times this has happened. Usually, it's always like I'm in a black space or like a dark space or in some weird area. But I just kind of popped out above my bed, and I saw my wife laying down, and everything was blue. That's one thing I noticed right off the bat. Everything was in like a hue of blue, and I heard this really cool sound. It sounds like something right out of the movies, just like a spacey, spiritually sound. It's so cliche sounding, but it was just like spacey, like whoosh, you know?
Cool.
And then I was like floating there. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I'm just looking around. I'm like, okay, can I move? And I just started to move to the left a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm moving. And I just, again, the excitement was just building and building and building. I'm like, I'm doing this because I felt comfortable. I felt no fear. I just felt like I did it, you know? And I started floating to the left. And I was like, oh, I can't. Let's try to go back the other way. And then I tried to move it, you know, to the right, and I couldn't stop. And I kept moving to one direction. It kind of freaked me out. And then I started like going through the wall on the left, and then I woke up. I snapped back into my body.
Oh.
But it was so real, you know. It wasn't like a dream. I popped out of my body, you know. I was floating around the room, and everything was blue. So to kind of segue into that, I was like, man, that was amazing. And I told everybody. And then maybe a couple months later, I just happened to stumble on this video, this Navajo video of this shaman talking about the spirit realm, and he was talking about why they wear turquoise, why they wear blue gems on their body. And he was saying it's for something along the lines of like it's a remembrance of the spirit realm, which is they call the blue world. And it just instantly, when I heard that, I was like, ding! I was like, dang, man! Like there has to be something to that, because the natives call it the blue realm or the blue world. And it just kind of clicked for me. I was like, okay, I think I've seen this place. I've seen the blue realm, because everything was just in a shade of blue, and it just felt like kind of like a confirmation for me.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one too. Kind of. I mean, this is kind of like way kind of out there, but also kind of like the do stuff, like how blue is protected. I don't want to really spell it out, but like what happened in Hawaii. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But that specific color was protected.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
I don't know. Just putting it out there.
Yep. But yeah, synchronicities like that just always kind of like, it just felt like, okay, I'm on to something there. Like, just for, I just decided to watch this video, and he started talking about the blue realm and the blue world. And I was like, oh man, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think there's so many different realms too that can be visited and revisited and kind of cross-verified by others. I mean, there's been so many examples of that. So it's like one of those fascinating things that continues to pop up. Does anyone have any thoughts about what Harold shared so far?
I have a question, Harold, about your meditation. Not necessarily about the astral stuff that you've been doing, but about just meditation in general. Have you gotten any kind of physical sensations that are uncomfortable? Like, I was telling somebody the other day about it. So it's happened to me twice in meditation recently, where I'm relaxed and then I get this strange sensation that starts around my midsection. It's a very warm, energetic feeling, and it rises up to my head and surrounds my head. And it's kind of scary because it makes me feel like something's about to happen. It like makes my heart beat really fast, and I'm like kind of just waiting in anticipation of something to happen. And twice I opened my eyes and it didn't end; it was still there. And then finally I got a little bit scared, I guess, and the only way to end it seemed, was to just get up, and then it was gone. But then I kicked myself afterwards. I was like, that could have been the beginning of something profound. I could have entered into some, like what you were talking about, and I didn't. Have you ever had any kind of physical sensations during meditation that are maybe similar, or?
Yes, most definitely. I don't know if it has to do with the medication too, because I don't really meditate without the medication because I find it pretty hard. But with being on the medication, absolutely exactly what you're describing, I feel that too. It's like a sense of impending doom, basically. And we could even see it, with your eyes closed. I could see like a color change, and it turns like red, and then I feel like something's above me, and like you said, goes around your head and body, and it just feels like impending doom. Almost every other time I feel that sensation come up. And I just kind of, the way I've been dealing with it is just breathing through it. And now I'm just like challenging. I'm like, what are you going to show me your face, scare me, like this place is scary enough. Like, what can you possibly do to me? So I just kind of like challenge it, and then it just goes away. it's never stayed there after I kind of just go, what now? You know? But yeah, no, I definitely feel, you know, crazy impending doom sometimes when I meditate.
Well, I love it. I love your response to that. And next time it happens to me, because I know it will, I'm just each time I lasted a little longer because it was twice. So the third time, I'm no matter what, I'm just gonna be like, okay, my heart's beating fast. So what if I have anxiety? Yeah, I'll challenge it just like you did and just go with it. Go with the flow. Thank you for that.
No, thanks for the question. Like, just think about it. Just like, what's going to scare me here? What is it? Is it a thought? Bring up the thought. Is it a feeling? Bring it up. Is it a monster? Bring it up. Like, just sort of maybe accept it and just breathe through it. And that's all I've been doing. And I can just feel, lately, I've just felt a massive difference as far as anxiety and depression management through exactly what you're talking about, just pushing through that.
Hell yes, that's what I like to hear, and it's definitely inspirational for me for next time. Thank you.
Yep, no
And
problem.
Depression management.
Yep.
Welcome to T Sing and Heather.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome,
Hey,
Heather and
guys.
T-Sing. Great to have you both.
Great to be here.
Are you? It's Thomas on the Batman side from the channel.
Can't really. Hold on. T-Sing's a little low. Can you guys? Hold on. Not sure if you. Can you try getting closer to the mic? I'm not sure.
Are you able to hear me now?
It's really low. Can you guys hear?
I hear like a TV or something in the background on T Sing's end.
It's a TV.
Or maybe it's just he's listening to the YouTube video.
Oh.
He or she, maybe.
All right, T-Sing, Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I heard a response, but it's like really far away. Maybe try leaving the voice chat really quickly and then coming back. Sometimes that helps. Discord gets weird like that. Just so, okay, so the poll that I took, do you feel that you picked this specific moment to incarnate for your liberation? 38% said yes, 15% said no, and 47% said maybe. It's an interesting result. Thank you for all your feedback, everybody. Also wanted to go really quickly to Sly Davis on Odysee. They asked, can you elaborate on setting up the invincibility cloak discussed in the Mastering Your Energy Field video? Sure. Yeah. Okay. So really quickly on this one, it's okay. So when we're leaving our body at the time of death, I think it's really important that there is a clear intention, and this is an intention that we should put forward now as well, like that. So it's like a clear directive, like an unrelenting clear directive, that when we leave our body at the time of natural death, that any and all attachments, overlays, connections, anything, any and all related to anything to do with this overall matrix system, overall, not just Earth, but any and all that are connected with this place, and that kind of could potentially impact us or, throw us off with our discernment. It's that we're just going to apply our intention to have an energy field around us, an energy field of protection. And so that's just but first is sending that intention out there to rid ourselves of any and all attachments, etheric, human, anything that has to do with us not having our clarity about who we are, what we are, and that could kind of throw us off or distract us and things like that. So it's just simply using our intention for a cloak of invincibility that nothing can pierce its way through in, whether that's audibly, visually, any and all forms of sensory experience, anything at all, so that we can just kind of stay concentrated into our goal, and that's liberation, right? Sovereignty, liberation. But we're asserting our sovereignty, liberation, and intention into the invincibility cloak too, which is just, it's just simply, yeah, we're just putting our intention into it so that we're not susceptible to any outside interference. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. But I think the key thing is for everyone to kind of get to that point where that's what their intention is. And I really think that should be done before you leave here. And then, of course, as you're leaving here and after you leave here. So that way it's kind of like, it's clear cut. I seriously think anyone who's kind of at that unrelenting phase and realizes that their intention is everything, and that they are a creator being, that they control the show, I think that's enough in and of itself. But that's why it's also important to kind of learn about all the methods of deception that go on here, so that you can kind of also branch off to the point of realizing that applying that intention for the invincibility cloak is important, because then it's not allowing any sort of anything to interfere, period, point blank. Simply not allowed. Like I say all the time, just simply not allowed. So I think that's kind of like the best kind of approach that I could put there. I think we have the meat suit, obviously, but that meat suit is comprised, and of course this is just a theory, but I think there's some ancient or old spiritual texts, I guess you can say, that allude to it. We have the chakras, we can call them overlays, we can call them etheric bodies, astral body, all that stuff. I think all of those are kind of an additional layer that is involved and frankly becomes like a more prevalent driving force when we leave the body. So not only do, when we shed this physical body, even though it's crazy because even though this experience is technically like a holographic illusion, it's, we talk about all the time how, you feel, we have all these senses, and we have pain receptors, pleasure, all that stuff. I think there is this other layer, I call it etheric, astral, whatever you want to call it. And those things are an additional kind of bubble that kind of keeps our essence from fully knowing, fully realizing the scam. So that's why we want to make sure that we're putting our intention out there to remove those types of things and simply not allow them when the time of physical death occurs, at natural death. So hope that helped a little bit. Thanks for the question, Sly. And sorry guys. So hey Tom, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Hey Mark, how's it going? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good, brother.
Oh, awesome. I just wanted to chime in. It's been a while since the last time I talked to you. I think it's been like over a year maybe. But I just had a quick question for you. What if the void itself is? What if that's part of this entire matrix? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I've actually talked about that. I think it I think the Matrix has a void as well. But I think the reason why it's there is it's like it's a false void, right? It's a false sense of I guess security for someone that would realize something like the soul trap. But it's, yeah, as far as like it being an issue, the only time I see it being an issue is for someone who's kind of not in the know, someone who doesn't really see through the illusion and the deception and all the little tactics that go on here. Because even in NDEs and all types of experiencer cases, some people will go to the void. It could be a positive experience, but more often than not, could be negative. I don't want to put like a percentage on it, but I think it's interesting, and I'm going to just branch off from this real quick. It's interesting how a lot of us there's like a whole culture injection going on in our minds from a very young age to be like, we're afraid of the dark. And, you know, obviously we outgrow it, and some don't, but it's one of those interesting things that is out there. And I often wonder if the reason for that is to keep us more in the sensory distraction experience, which is the light, right? Which is the hustle and bustle of everything. The go, the distraction, you know, keep us constantly hooked into visual stimuli. So, I do think the Matrix has its own version, and definitely pointed that out in a number of NDEs I've gone over, but it's nothing to worry about, because we're not going to be interacting with that. Like, we're not going to be interacting with anything to do with the Matrix, because anytime someone's in a void, at least especially if they're having something like an NDE, they're most likely gonna lead themselves to some sort of content experience briefly, and then something's gonna come in and like interject and interfere and distract them, and end up taking them or guiding them, or the light may be in the far distance, or they're going to have a really negative experience and they're going to make it out of it, and the light is also going to save them. So all those things really don't they're not an issue, because we're just not going to entertain any of that, because it's a false sense of security, I think.
Right. And also, since you asked earlier while I was listening to the stream if we planned this life out since it was going to be our last, what if we didn't plan this out? Like, how do we even know that even happened? Because, like, we're all we know we could have been tricked again into coming in here, and we just won. It was basically luck of the draw, where we came into this life and we had technology was coming to be, and it was just pure luck of the draw where we were able to access this kind of information.
I completely leave that on the table. I think it's pretty clear that we all got we all fell for it again. But I think it kind of goes to what I was talking about a little earlier in the stream, that it's like some sort of subconscious thing in the astral, not necessarily. It's like we picked it, but it's like we picked it because we've probably been through so many incarnations, or maybe not even that many. Who knows? Who knows? It depends on what we've done, right? But it certainly could be luck of the draw. It could also be that we subconsciously kind of pick this specific epoch, this moment in time, to have more information available, because they do kind of give us an overlay of what things are going to look like when we get down here. So we do kind of get a pretty good breakdown of where things are headed and where they'll start and where they'll kind of go in our life script based on when we come down here. But it certainly could be the luck of the draw. I'm not at all discounting that, but
Right.
you know, I just think it could. I don't think it's necessarily like something like, oh, like we knew, like, and it's like we were plotting and scheming for liberation, you know, like behind the scenes. I think, you know, and like that's why we did it. I think it might have been more like a subtle, subconscious kind of decision that we made. That's my gut feeling. I don't know. You know, at least for me, I want to say we, because I'm just talking about me personally. So, you know, that's my opinion.
Right. Because Terry Lehman here in the chat says, "Why would the council let us plan an escape life script?" That makes complete sense to me.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And I in the council, as well. Like the one, they know that they cannot fully contain our true essence. That's like a really, really big thing, guys, that we can't. They know that our true essence can't be fully contained. So with that, they do the best that they can to keep us forever, you know, spinning our wheels and distracted and thrusted into this crazy experience so that we lose ourselves. And all it's hoping is that, you know, by the time you reach 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever, however many years you're here in this incarnation, that you won't figure it out. But I think, yeah, I don't think it's a decision that is necessarily advertised in the astral. I think it's something nestled deep in the subconscious of the astral experience based on past experiences and incarnations experienced here on Earth. So that's just kind of my opinion on it. So yeah, no, I don't think they would kind of stall us if there was like a full realization of us kind of realizing like, hey, we want to pick here because it'll lead to the most opportune moment and realization to liberate ourselves.
I just have a question for you. What's your opinion on merging with the source? So recently, this past couple of years, I've been rethinking that notion that it probably may not be a good idea to merge with the quote unquote source. I just wanted to know what your opinion on that is.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I talked about that a lot, Tom. It's I don't know what source is, you know. I don't know if there is a source. So, you know, I won't be merging with anything personally. And, you know, I don't, if we, or, you know, us as individuals don't have a clear reference point about with 100% clarity, and that doesn't lack any sort of memory or recollection of what all that is. And I'm talking like clear, like once we've allowed ourselves to be in our own self-created realm and kind of keep ourselves in an area of protection just to kind of get more familiar with ourselves, you know, perhaps there will be some realization that there is something like that out there. But in my opinion, I don't think I'd want to merge with something or reunite or any of that stuff if there is some sort, if this is kind of allowed to happen, you know, like, so if if there, and that's assuming that it is responsible for this creation. And that may not be the truth. I don't know. If assuming there is a source, a root source creator, then where, does that mean that that being, that source, that creator is responsible for what's happening here? Or is it just a byproduct of its own creation? And like one of the biggest questions I constantly put out there is that, we are creator beings. We can use our intention, and we're not all special, this and that. Like, we're a lot more powerful and special than this system wants us to believe, but we're all on equal footing. We're not, this isn't an ego contest. We're all on equal footing, and creator beings. We're just in these stupid meat suits that have limited us, and our perception is skewed and messed with, and this meat suit is obviously prone to massive manipulation, et cetera, et cetera. All the stuff we talk about constantly. But with that, the question I'm always putting out there, if there is a prime source, prime creator, all knowing, all loving, all whatever, source creator, God being that started everything, regardless of whether it's Earth or just everything, then it's fallen asleep at the switch to allow something like this. And because we know that, or at least some of us know, I don't want to say we know and inject things into people and say like, oh, well, this is in fact your reality. But these are things that we can find out for ourselves, that we are creator beings. You can go outside the body and use intention, and you just know you're a lot more than what you've been told. Like, you just know it. Okay, so taking that into account for those who have experienced that, or those that are trying to get there and go out, have some out-of-body experiences, some really heightened meditation sessions, whatever, and come to that profound realization that only you can prove to yourself. The question goes back to the source, the creator, whoever, assuming it exists. So again, I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but take the source, the creator, set it to the side, then ask yourself, okay, so if that source creator made me, made you, made everybody, and we ourselves are creator beings, is the only thing that, and this is an ego speaking, are we like, is the source, the creator, the God, whoever, the only being that can actually create, bring true essence beings into existence? Or is that something that is off limits for individuals like us, right? Who's to say that we ourselves can't bring other beings into existence? And that's assuming that something like bringing a being into existence even exists in the first place. Because we don't even understand necessarily how time factors into any of this. I don't know how that all plays a role. Perhaps we have always been in existence. Perhaps we're eternal beings. That we know for sure. So if we're eternal beings, does that mean that there is a starting point of our creation? I don't know. Does that mean that if there's a starting point of our creation, is that only from one source and one source only, the true source, God, creator, whoever? Or does that mean that something that came out of that true source, God, creator, could that true essence being have made me or you or anyone else? Or is it strictly just that one being, that one true God, source, creator? See, like these are like the kind of like the things that go through my head, and I don't know the answer to them. So I don't like to make assumptions, and I certainly personally won't be merging or joining or reuniting with anything because I don't know. There's just no way to say any of this with any certainty while I have a meat suit, and anyone who makes those claims is full of shit. So I just think it's just really important for all of us just to be honest and say that we just don't know. But the one thing I can say with certainty is that we are all creator beings and that our intention is everything. That I'm certain of. And that's something everyone can prove. And it's not always easy to prove. It's, it involves, working on yourself and meditating and going outside the body. And, it takes some effort, but you can achieve it. You can experience it. You can even get a taste of it. And when you get a taste of it, that gives you motivation to further explore that stuff. And it's really powerful once you get to that point. So anyways,
Right.
I hope that kind of helped. I know it was a long answer.
That definitely did help, and those were the only things I wanted to mention right now. I do have to go, unfortunately. However, it was nice chatting with you, Mark. And hopefully, the next time that you do have a live chat or a live stream like this, I should be able to join. But anyways, it was awesome chatting with you.
Thanks,
Good night.
Tom. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for being such a long-time supporter of the channel too. It's really, really appreciate you, brother.
No. Well, I appreciate you for all the knowledge and insights that you've displayed over the years.
Thanks, brother. You take care of yourself, all right, man?
Yep, you too. Thanks. Bye.
I want to circle back around to Heather, because Heather came in, and I know she wanted to probably say some things. So, Heather, how you been feeling? How are things going?
Hey, thanks, Mark. Great to be here. I've been feeling, I'm learning how to live and adapt every day to the level of pain that my physical body is experiencing. So, like a year ago, when it was showing up as it is, I didn't think I would be able to live with this amount of pain without being completely zombied out. But I am able to do things and have joy, and I'm starting to laugh again, even though I'm still experiencing like excruciating pain at the same time. So that's really interesting and cool that my psyche is able to override the sensations in my physical body to bring me to some sort of level where I don't lose who it is that I really am. So yeah, that's that. And I'm still looking for a place. I once in a while go back to the video where I was speaking with you on the Awakening series and read the comments. There's so many amazing comments that people left for me, and it always helps helps me feel a little stronger to read them and to see like my reflection through everybody and how I'm coming off, because I don't really know, being so isolated, I don't see a lot of people. So it's great to have put myself out there on your channel and then get all this feedback. That's really wonderful. So that feels really good too. But I'm still looking for a spot that meets my needs. And but I went into the little horse trough, like galvanized steel tub tank today, and was able to be in the water a little bit and move my hips a little, and that felt really nice. But yeah, I'm kind of paying for it in pain, but it's like you got to just keep pushing to get stronger, but then it's painful, but then you got to keep pushing, but then it's painful. So anyway, I wanted to though share, because you were talking about, someone had mentioned or asked a question about like this cloak, or you were saying about setting the intention of, being only you. And I have been kind of practicing this process before I go to sleep, and I was wondering if I could share it with you guys.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I very much agree with when you say, like, my intention is to when I leave my body for good, when I leave this body for good, and my intention is not to return to another physical body, but in the beginning is to, you know, not be influenced or distracted or guided by anyone or anything, even a little, even if someone says, hey, just look over there into the void, and then, oh, I look over to the void and then I see like a little light, right? And then the light starts getting bigger. And then by that time, I'm already like curious. Nothing is going to make me curious. Nothing's going to tell me to look anywhere. Nothing's going to interact with me or try to guide me or anything. So I'm going to find my place of balance and come to a state of groundedness in that ethereal realm. And how I'm practicing before I go to sleep to not be pulled toward any of my physical body's attachments or any of my memories or any of my traumas or any of the people or anything. I'm starting to, before I fall asleep, while I'm in that liminal space, pretending that I'm either like some creature like an octopus or a squid that has all these tentacles, or I'm a plant that has all these tendrils that are all out and they're all connected to, like, one's connected to a person, one's connected to a memory, one's connected to a trauma. And slowly, as I can think of all those things, untendril or unhook myself from each thing and coil each arm. How many arms there could be thousands. Bring them all back and just hold them in. Like when you tuck your arms in at night, sometimes I lay in my stomach, I tuck my arms in under myself. So I just visualized that I'm doing that, and I started doing it, and I could actually feel an increase of energy inside of myself without thinking or feeling for anything else. And so I hope that makes sense, and I'm still working on it, but I think it's a really cool practice.
Awesome. That's really great news. That's awesome. So, any interesting, any interesting experiences that have come from that too?
So I've noticed that my dreams, I'm having cycles of dreams, like 3 rounds, because I wake up various times throughout the night and then I'll go back to sleep. And so each consecutive dream is more vivid. And I look at dreams either like it's processing stuff from the day that I need to do, like just maintenance for my hardware or whatever. And then I also look at dreams as like I'm either in the astral or I'm going into the astral, and there are figures that approach me and they want to have conversations with me and ask me about how I'm doing this or how I'm doing that. And so I'm noticing that more beings are coming around me and asking me, and they're in the shape of people throughout my life that I've known. But I'm starting to feel more confident instead of like I'm kind of like half lucid in my dream. So I'm less scattered because I did that exercise and I pulled all my energy and my intention into just me. And so I don't have my arms out all over with everything. It's just me. And so I'm more focused in my mind as well. It's not just my energy, but my mind is focused. And so I'm able to focus instead of being scattered and catch myself before I interact with these beings.
Well said.
And
Well
observe
said.
and yeah.
Yeah, catching yourself. That That is such a huge thing to say. Like, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just got to point it out. It's so
No, I'm done.
important to catch yourself. Like when things start to drift or things start to get weird or negative or just to the point where it's a distraction, it could even be a good thing. Like if it's something that is trailing you off and like essentially distracting you, whether for the good or for the bad, it's important to realize in that moment when it's happening and shift it back to like ridding yourself of that issue, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm also recalling different dreams that I've had where I've been, because the astral, I'm learning more and more, is like, sometimes it's like the back alleys of like a major city, like really all sorts of crazy stuff is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm recalling like, oh, some of my dreams in the past haven't been me just like, I really was in the astral, and people are coming up to me, like offering me food to eat or offering me something to read or offering this or taking me to a school or taking me to a class. And now I'm like, wait a minute. I've done a lot of things because I've been in like a half stupor, but I'm starting to gain more strength and in my observations. So that's really cool.
Nice. Well, appreciate you sharing. That's awesome. That's awesome. Really appreciate it. Black Uni joining for the first time. Hey, Black Uni, it's good to have you with us. And you know what? Actually, if you don't mind, guys, before we go to Black Uni, I do got to take a quick break. So let's just take 5 minutes, everybody, and we'll come back before we continue because I really got to use the restroom. And so we'll be right back, okay? Hang in there, and we're going to start off segment 2 with Black Uni. Thank you, everybody. Just as a reminder, my friends, this channel is for educational or perhaps entertainment purposes only. It's always important to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. All right, so we're going to get right back into this. And I want to welcome Black Uni to the stream for the first time. How you doing?
Hello. Hi. I'm good. Pretty good. So I was always worried about doing stuff like this because, I don't know, I was afraid of being just like the weirdo or something like, oh, there's the weirdo. Or, I don't know, overdoing it or something.
Well, we're all weirdos together.
Okay, we'll all be the weirdos together.
That's all right. You're in very good company.
Okay. And it's funny because there's so many people in the chat that I actually see in other streams now. It's interesting how many of the themes that you discuss are in topics that aren't even, you wouldn't think would be related to this, and now they're kind of seeing similar themes. Like I see a lot of times in the like UFO communities, they perceive some very similar things, but they perceive it in their way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, like the nuts and bolts part of the UFO community, or
all of them. Like a lot of people who are like very like alien centric. Like there's the nuts and bolts, and then there's like the Space Brothers, and there's different ones. There's at some point it's kind of like become like a pantheon of almost like mythology, but like for the contemporary time period. And they also will view things as like we're in a prison and you're being messed with, and things like that, or your memories being messed with. And it's like they'll say the same stuff we say, but they're like, oh, it's aliens doing it.
Yeah, that's
right?
the big that's where the what kind of like things divide on this topic. Is the quote unquote aliens. Similar. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean you've been around for a long time, Black Uni. I really appreciate over the years you've kind of helped check the streams and stuff. And I just want to say thank you because first time we were able to talk.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I started to find this topic in the summer of 2022, and I had gone through I'm a philosopher and an artist, and I had these conundrums and I couldn't solve them. And it was just driving me crazy because I was just trying to like figure it out. Like, why can't I get these things to happen? Or why can't I resolve these issues? And then I started doing something. I know you don't like to talk about it. It was called microdosing, and someone suggested it to me.
It's okay.
And it had me, considering things that I never would have, right? And looking at things that I wouldn't have. And this was one of these things that just kept coming up. And I was like, oh, those are crazy people. I don't want to do that. And then I was like, okay, well, it's not going away. I'll just look into it. And then I couldn't stop watching it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just scrutinize this stuff. And, and then the more I scrutinized it, the more I couldn't unsee what was going on. And then I started to remember my own stuff. Like, I had a near-death experience when I was 18, and it was the most real thing that ever happened to me. And when it happened, it was it took for just the amount of time. There's no way to even describe how long it felt. It was like eternities. It just seemed like there was just all this time passing. And meanwhile, my body was just, I had kind of overdone some meditation stuff, and I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back. And when I finally broke out, everything, I was like, this is not me. That's not real. It just meant nothing to me. I was like, this body doesn't mean anything. And I just saw everything as just like a nothing, like a tiny little, bleh. I don't need this. And the effort that whoever the heck those things are outside of this, they put so much effort into trying to get me to go back. And I remember having this very long conversation with this being. And I never saw any religious stuff. And that was shocking to me because I thought you were supposed to see religious stuff.
What was your belief at the time? Can I just ask that?
Honestly, yeah. So I was more Christian and kind of sort of verging into the new age kind of stuff at the time. This was in 1987. And I thought, you'd see Jesus or angels or something, right? But I just saw, it was just this being, and I don't even know, there were other things there too. I don't even know how to describe what they were, but I definitely saw the light also. And I thought the light thing was God, right? And there's a lot of similar things that people talk about that I know exactly, they showed you this thing where everything is God and everything is love. And it's so convincing, right? It's so realistically convincing. And that we're all one somehow. And I mean, when you perceive this thing, it's very convincing. But this one being, and I know for a fact it was not Jesus. I just don't know I don't know who that was. I just had this conversation it was a mental, telepathic, mind to mind, pure ideas, no language. And the more questions I asked, the more it answered. And it went so fast, and it was so vast. And then it started to show me things. I remember when I was kind of asking about the universe and stuff like that, it showed me this picture of this visual, and it kind of reminded me of lungs. And it's where you inhale into your lungs and then your lungs expand, and it looks like gold, this golden light stuff. But it was more spherical-ish, and it sort of reminded me of branching out like trees. And the weird thing was, so that was in 1997, and then last year I saw something, and I'd never heard of it. It was called Laniakea or something. It's some kind of superstructure of galaxies or something, and it looked very similar to that. Was it Laniakea? I don't know. I'll find it. And I had never heard of it. That wasn't a thing that I ever heard of. There was also a bunch of other bizarre things that happened after my NDE. I was very, very psychic when I was younger. And then when I was in my mid-20s, it just shut off. And I had these weird interactions with these beings that used to come to me at night when I was either sleeping or if I was meditating, and I gullibly thought they were like, nice beings that were helping me, like angels or something. They just look like beings of light, and they're very pretty, and they tell you like nice stuff. They tell you like you're special or whatever. And you just, I don't know, they would just make me do these tasks. Like, do this, do that. And I'm like, okay. Like, one of the things they tricked me to do was find other spirits, like whether it was animals or humans or whatever, and send them back to the light. And I was like, okay, because they make you think like, you're special and you're helping. And I would never do that today. And another thing they did was they would put these, the last thing they made me do was, they were doing this for a while. They put these like rocks in my hand, and it's like you have this like, I don't know, it's like this other structure next to your body or something, sort of like a holodeck or something. And so a lot of times I feel like when you have like a visitation of people, like you're going into that structure thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I've experienced it many, many times. That's the only way that it makes sense to me. And so they put these rocks in my hand, and when I'm in that like structure, it's like a holodeck or whatever, it looks like a copy of my room, my bedroom, or wherever I am, right? And I have these rocks, these crystals in my hand, and they're like, okay, just concentrate on this crystal. I'm like, okay. And so I do that, and then what happened was the rocks, they popped, they like exploded like a firecracker, and it was really painful. It hurt really bad. And then I felt bad, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And when you couldn't see any like their faces, like, because they're all light, but when I saw their reaction, I could kind of see like an expression on their face. And then they're like, don't worry about it, we'll do it again. Here's another rock, put this in your hands, and just concentrate on the rock. And so I do it again. I don't even know what I'm doing or why. I just never question it. I don't know, so gullible. And they did that, and it popped after a while. And they were shocked again. And so this kept happening. They'd put the rocks in my hands and it would pop. And so after about maybe 5 or 6 times, I felt so bad. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is happening. I'm really, really sorry. Like, I'm going to try to do it better this time. And it was like they were communicating with each other. And there's always anywhere from like 3 to 5 of them at a time. And so they're like communicating with each other somehow. And then one of them turns to me and they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And I was like, what?
What?
And then after, I was like, what is that? What do you mean I'm not supposed to be able to do that? Like, no, you're not even supposed to be at a level to do anything like that. And I'm like, what does that even mean? So they're like, you know what? We're not going to do this anymore. We're done. And then they're like, you know what? We're gonna make you all better. We're gonna help you now, and like all your life is gonna be so much better, and it's gonna be great. And just lay down, and we're just gonna fix you. And then I felt like they were uploading, like, or broadcasting or uploading like this data into me, and it could feel it, and it could feel it like just filling me up. And I couldn't move, and it's going into me, right? Like, like when you used to send stuff in the AOL days, you have like a bar and you can see it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then it just ended. And then not long after that, like all of everything I used to do, like I was very psychic, it just went away. A lot of the things that I was very good at just kind of went away. And then my whole life just fell apart. And once it started just shredding, and the economy crashed not long. Like, do you remember the 777 point drop when I think it was Bush era when the economy crashed?
2000.
Bush
like
era, yeah.
Okay, so that was like right before Obama came in, right?
Right,
yeah.
Right. And I was absolutely devastated. I was going to go to Cal Arts, and it absolutely destroyed my whole life. Everything I had been working for.
I'm so sorry. That's so sorry.
Yeah. I was devastated. So, but once that happened, I realized, like, oh shit. Oh, excuse me. Oh snap. They did this to me. They did this, and it was like I just let them. Like, why did I do that? And part of the reason was because there were these sisters who were like popular psychics at the time, and I was hanging out with a lot of them and online and whatever, and they were into a lot of like I don't know, they had nice people around, but then it would also attract other people who were not so good. So it was a mixed bag. But they made it sound like, you should talk to like these entities and whatever, and it was good for you, and you should trust it, and blah blah blah, and listen to your feelings. Yeah, well, I did that, and they screwed me. You know what I mean? So and then after that, I wanted nothing. Yeah, I wanted nothing to do with any of that, and then I just started questioning everything. And then once you question one thing, you start questioning everything. I started questioning like the government and I don't know, relationships, your family. You start to realize how gullible you can be, or how, like when you love people, you don't see what's wrong, you don't see what they're doing to you, kind of things. And it just really made me see other stuff. But I still have there's still really weird things that happen. Like when I go for a walk and stuff, there's like cars with black windows that'll follow me. This has been going on for years. It's so unsettling. I don't know why. I didn't do anything, right? At one point, my channel on YouTube, because when Bernie ran for president, I used to be like a burner. I'm not anymore, but I got shadow banned, and a lot of stuff that I did got shadow banned, and I got in trouble. I didn't do anything wrong. I just did the things I always did. So now I just post stuff about Pokemon because Pokemon doesn't get you in trouble.
Yeah. Man, it's so weird. It really there's really no way to make sense of certain things and how that all goes. And I find it incredible that you kind of came to the realization that the system was working against you. I think one of the most common narratives I've constantly seen is that it's all happening for a reason. So you're kind of like in a different category because a lot of people will just chalk it up and say, oh, well, I'm here on a mission. I have to do this. I have to do that. Even though they constantly admit that they don't even know what that damn mission is, which just blows my mind how often that happens.
Had that too. I had that too, where they made you think that you have a mission, that's something that you're meant to do stuff, that it's important. And then for me personally, I always felt like it was my art, I thought, I'm an artist, and then maybe I'd help people, like, I don't know, like, because when I was younger, my whole, like, part of my raison d'etre was, like, I thought I was spiritual. Well, then it turned out what I actually valued wasn't so-called spirituality, which could mean any number of things to any number of people, but it was, like, ethics. And then I was like, well, why don't I just do philosophy? So, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we kind of had, well, I want to say similar, but like, the whole thing with Bush and Obama, and Obama was like the big one. Like he
lied.
He lied through his teeth. And anyone who was just like, even just like 1% paying attention would have seen it. We're going to bust up the banks. We're going to break, all this stuff. And he didn't do one damn thing. And then the whole healthcare things. Yeah. Oh, and Bernie's a joke. I mean, they clearly got to him and his wife. It's clear that they went after his wife. I mean, like that was the target, and then we can go down the list, and Trump and RFK and I mean, on and on. It's all the same shit. I mean,
Arnold West.
Yeah. It just goes, it's never ending. And anyone who believes in it at this point, like really, they're just so out to lunch and asleep. It's not even funny. I mean, and then, it's like, if anyone's listening out there and kind of maybe just waking up, I don't mean any offense. Nobody means any offense. It's just that, sometimes there are certain things, and this is where kind of age starts to show, like where experience in life, like, does play a role. like where you
It does.
can look back at things and you can say without a doubt that, you know, it's all a lie. It's all a lie, and it's always been a lie. And so that's not to insult anyone's intelligence out there. It's just that there are no heroes in this game. The hero in this game is you as an individual. That's it.
And there's no one specific solution.
No.
Like one of the books I always go back to is Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu. And in that book, it explains a lot of things for anything you can't figure out. There's some way to explain it in that book. And if you think that one thing is the way to do it, it's probably not going to be the thing that works for you. So if one of us wants to get out of this, if we figure it out, it's probably not going to work for other people. So you need to figure out what works for you. And that's part of the trick of it, because everything gets repurposed. So if you think Jesus is going to do it, now it's going to disguise itself as Jesus.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I mean, like, I don't understand how other people can't see that by now.
It's so
pretty
obvious. Yeah, it's so freaking obvious. And I mean, like, just like and it's in the data. Like, it's so prevalent. And you know, I've gotten some flack saying like, oh, why don't you cover, you know, a bunch of different countries and stuff like that. And I'm saying, you know, to everybody out here who doubts it, like, all the data is out there, but I am not going to read pages upon pages upon pages of NDEs. It's all out there. You can go and read it, and you can see the same exact playbook. Different deities, a slightly different situation, but it's the same exact playbook over and over, and you'll be able to prove that to yourself. Like, you can prove it. And that leads into the bigger question of, you know, goes back to a really old video that I put out. Like, you know, who is the true God? Who is the true deity? Who's the true source creator? You know, the unsub special. That's what I titled it.
Yes.
You know, like,
I love that one.
And
I love that one.
That one just lays it out in lavender, and I barely even scratched the surface of all the different gods and deities and worshippers that are out there. Like, and so. And then you cross-reference that with even tribal NDEs and indigenous NDEs and Eastern and Western and everything in between. It shows the same exact pattern, that everything is customized to the individual belief system, and it works on us like a frickin' fiddle. It's all there for you to find on your own. And I'm not gonna. I mean, I've broken down and I've gone over it in public videos, member videos, like to a T. But you know, like going over and translating and paying translators and all that stuff. You know, sorry, I'm not gonna do it. The information's there, and I'm offering. Like, I'm just saying, hey, it's there. Just go take a look at it. Like, I promise you, you will find solace in knowing that. If you are religious, or if you do believe in a certain god or deity or whoever, like, you'll see how it is the same playbook and know that it's a scam. That's it. Like, you know, it's not ego, it's nothing. It's there, and it's in the data. And I promise you guys, like, don't let this information slip by and just say, oh, well, you know, he's just saying this. No, just go out and do a little bit of legwork. I give you part of the legwork, but then the other part you can go out and do and prove on your own, and you can feel a tremendous amount of comfort at the end of the day. Yeah, it may take a little bit of like inner work to unprogram yourself if you're in certain religions, but I promise you, it's there, and you will get out of it. You'll snap out of it quick and see through the illusion and deception, and how this place contradicts itself over and over and over again, regardless of where you live, who you are, what environment you grow up in, and what life script you have, on and on and on. Like, so I'll step off the soapbox and just say, please, please, please do your own research.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, I think it was last summer, I had this conversation with this guy, because it's funny how people accept the ideas now, whereas like in 2022 and early 2023, it was like, oh, that's kooky, crazy stuff. I thought so too before, but this guy was telling me he could understand it. He was like, I see the truth of it. But then he was like, oh well, I'll just wait for like when it's in a book form, and then I could just read through it on the weekend. And I'm like, really? It's not. You're not. You're not. It's not going to happen for you then.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I you know, maybe for some it might, but I think it would be difficult. There might be a few out there who can kind of go that, but I really think like everyone needs to kind of see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Like because it pays off. It really does.
I believe it does. I look into this stuff a lot of times all day, all night. And when I'm doing other things, I'll have something on in the background that's sort of similarly related. And there's so much content out there now that I just want to compare different points of view because sometimes the craziest person or craziest people who are like nuts might have that little bit of insight that I would never have because I'm not crazy like them. That's maybe derogatory, I apologize, but like they had this nugget of truth and I'm like, oh, that's so true, even though all the rest of your craziness is nonsense. It's like sometimes even people will say like from the mouth of babes, you know, that you can hear some of the most profound things, right? And it's so weird how that is. But I've had to, because of, you know, watching your content and there's other people's content and Dan from Overwatch, he even would say, hey, these are some of the videos. Put aside some of your biases of some of their weird ideas and just listen to what they have to say because there's parts of here that you really need to know.
Exactly.
And I had to learn how to get along with flat earthers, and I found that they weren't stupid. I found that they could actually be logical.
There's plenty of them that are really smart and
really smart.
And there's a lot to it as well.
A lot to it. So I mean I know you talk about round Earth versus flat Earth a lot. I
not
still
really.
see it as
very
round.
little. No, not really.
So, okay. So I still kind of see it as round. I've sat in, I think it was like last year in the fall or something. There was some flat earthers and I thought, okay, well, just watch their stuff. And they were very smart and they had all these good arguments and stuff. And then they were talking about this stuff and they're like, see, it's so obvious and da-da-da. And I'm like, what is it they're saying? I don't see, what is it they see? I don't see the thing they're seeing. And I'm like, I can't see it. But they could perceive this, whatever it was that I couldn't perceive. That's why I wonder if like maybe we're on different like hard drives or maybe we're all patched into the system from different sectors. And that's why there's no one way out and different people, like kind of like, you know, augmented reality, you know, like you can see something in reality through your phone that's not really there, but it's there through this system, or I don't know, like, or in VR, like people are from different parts of the world into like a room, but they're not really there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think I'm just going to throw a big shout out for anyone to check out. And you may have checked them out, Black Uni, but I mean, Eric Dubé has put out some good stuff. One of as far as questioning the shape of the earth. Now, the only thing I would go a step further and say is that it's not even, and this is kind of like one of these points where it's like, okay, I personally believe we have been deceived. This is my opinion. I think we've been deceived on a mass scale about the makeup of this place. And that goes to the shape of it. The one thing I spent a ton of time in, like just personal research, some of it's in my very, very, very old videos, like is the launches, the so-called space launches, right? And they're just time after time after time, they're just not believable. They're just not.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
And I'm not even talking about like, oh, there's some that are like that you can say, oh, they're definitely legitimate. No, they are literally every single one that I've seen has anomalies that need to be questioned. And that defy logic. And there's no way that organizations out there who claim to be doing what they're doing can continue to have anomalies, continue to have horrible footage, I mean, or breaks in the footage, or bubbles, or air pockets, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's just way too much. So I definitely want to put that out there. Like, and I think, but you know, I think there's also something to suggest, and you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know it, because I don't. But I think if I had to put my own opinion out there, I think it's all a big fat illusion. It's all a big game. And if they are in let's just assume, I'm trying to throw out a reasoning as to why they would want us to believe in around Earth and you know, space exploration and all that. This is my opinion on why they might push this narrative. I think it is for the purpose of making us feel small and vulnerable and possibly under threat, right? At all times. That's just my opinion. Like, one of the things I've talked about all the time on the channel is how, like, a memory that was just like ingrained in my head, and I would love to hear in the chat and in the comment section afterwards. It might depend on the time period that everybody grew up in, but I mean, I'd really like to hear, like, one of the biggest things, like, my science teachers would always say is, like, you know, you're so meaningless that you're the equivalent to a grain of sand on the beach.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, like, this was something, like, not just crammed in my head from one science teacher, but multiple science teachers. And so that also fed into the narrative that all we are is a bag of bones when we die. Like, you know, this is just all some fluke accident, right? And
it's all accidented into existence, which is like dumb.
It's insane. Totally insane. And yeah, take the red pill. Says the sun is very close, like thousands of miles. I believe you could fly some drones up there and triangulate its position. I agree. I don't know how many miles away it is, but the sun and the moon are apps and the stars. All this stuff is inside of where we are. Like, there's a video on my channel.
I've seen the moon glitch, actually. I've seen it glitch.
Yeah, I put I put a video out on it. It's crazy.
I saw that one. I saw this was like around 20, it was somewhere 2010 to 2013. And when I used to have a kiosk in a mall, and when we drive home after the mall would close, which that mall doesn't exist anymore, I would drive home and I would look over into the sky, and for that most of that year, the bottom, like, you know, when you have like the new moon, because it's supposed to be the Earth's shadow covers it, the bottom of the moon you could still see was lit up.
Yes, yeah.
So it wasn't like in alignment. And I thought it was weird because no one talked about it. And I would see it every night. There was the bottom part of the moon was, you could still see it, and the Earth was not lined up correctly to cast the shadow over it. And this went on for months like this. Right?
So maybe flat earthers aren't that crazy.
Yeah. I also had, when I was pregnant with my daughter in 2003, every night I would get up and I'd look outside and there was a full moon there. And I'm like, how is this doing this every night, you know, for like 20 days in a row? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It was just so weird.
It's one of the, you know? Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, there was times, and this is again like an old video, where there were there were many profound moments, but there was one moment where I was doing a lot of meditation by the ocean up in the northeastern United States. And there were granite piers that I would go to because I knew that granite piers were conductive for, you know, experiences and
Wow.
paranormal and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it was kind of reckless behavior looking back on it. Like it really,
I've never heard of that.
yeah. 'Cause, granted, there's something about it. Like it's some sort of conductive, material that can produce or at least heighten the possibility of having an experience or interaction with something. And so I would go and this was literally the granite pier was in the ocean. So like you would walk out from the beach onto the granite and go out a little bit of the ways, and I would always bring like a kind of like a lawn chair with me, and there are some streams of that from years ago, and it's really, and I had some of the streams are pretty embarrassing, I'm not gonna lie. Like there was something that happened. And so the only reason I'm bringing that up is because in that same time period I was driving in that area, and there was like this really profound, like I was doing a lot of orb interactions and summoning and all sorts of stuff. And so I brought my Nikon P900 out there, and I was like, wow, that is like a really, like, that, whatever that is, that orb, I thought it was an orb. And I zoomed in and I filmed it, and then I brought out the multiple star tracking apps, and I lined up everything in the sky, and it told me that it was a star. It wasn't an orb, according to to the multiple star maps that I use. And I'm telling you, everything lined up perfectly with what I was looking in the sky. And it was telling me that it was a star, like however many light years away. And I'm telling you, this damn thing was not far. Like I probably could have gotten a boat and, drove 40, 50 miles and gotten close to it. And so, and that's going to kind of lead me into one other story, and I have a video on that. It's a really old upload, and it's I think the constellation Velen or something like that. And I'm telling you, it was like right there. So like to me, it's like, how can something like 10 or 15 or however many light years away that NASA was claiming it to be, how could that align perfectly with all the star maps and be there, yet seem like it was extremely close? Like it defies logic. Then I also took into account that, hey, I have a Nikon P900 and it's got a 80 some odd, 86 or 85 zoom, whatever it was. And how can I zoom in to the moon that is 200 some odd thousand miles away with a stupid little Nikon camera? It's a great camera, but it defies logic that it can zoom in to the craters of the moon 200 and some odd thousand miles away. So I have two examples. I have the moon, and I have a star that is supposedly light years away, and then the moon being a few 100,000 miles away. And it proved to me personally through actual evidence that this was a system that is self-contained. So that was a big part of it. Like at the time, I was listening to all sorts of people, including Eric Dubay, and I took into consideration what he said. I took into consideration what a lot of people said, but I wanted to prove it to myself that there was something to this. So in my opinion, I proved it that, we are in some sort of self-contained system, and there's some evidence on the channel for anyone that wants to check it out. So to me, it's like, whatever the shape of the Earth is, I don't know, because I have no way of proving that personally, but I think the flat earthers are very, very close to the truth. I mean, and then
Yeah,
I'm
they're
just
seeing
gonna, one more
something.
thing. Like,
Go,
I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry. One more thing is like, I'm sorry, go on a plane. Does it look round? I mean, and then they can say, oh, well, you got to be up higher to see the well, you know what? Like, I don't know how much more proof I need. Like, because they say, oh, well, like if you do these certain tests from certain areas across certain types of planes that you can see and prove and have lasers provide you answers that, there is curvature. I'm sorry. I am banking on my own eyes, and my own eyes says when I'm in a plane and looking down that it's flat as hell. Like it sure looks flat to me. So, and so if I'm taking that I have already proven without a shadow of a doubt that they have lied to me point blank that the sun, the moon, and the sun is another one. I have another video about the sun where it's literally disintegrating before my very eyes, and it's on camera. So you can find that video too. It's like the sun disintegrates or something a long time ago. Anyway, so the sun, the moon, and this star have all proven to me that those things are within our system. So that was enough for me. And then taking just common sense of being on a plane on top of it, I think the flat earthers are closer than most realize. But I'll just go one step further and say that I think at the end of the day, it's all one big fat illusion. But I want to give a big shout out to Eric Dubay. I really do, because Eric really did a lot of great work. And then there's the emergency plane landings. The emergency plane landings are not anything to laugh about. Those are huge. So anyways, I'll shut up. I'm sorry, Black Uni. I know I ranted for a long ass time.
No, I'm actually so glad you talked about those stuff. I'm kind of wondering if most people probably actually perceive weird stuff in the sky that are glitchy or whatever, and then they just kind of go, oh, it's nothing. Because it's become apparent to me that there have been a lot of things that in my life that I remember, but I forgot about. That, like, I saw weird stuff happen, or especially like the sky. There's something odd about the sky sometimes. But now that because of things like TikTok and, smartphones and stuff, people record things all the time. And now there are channels that every week they put out a video. Let's look at these clips. Right. And going back and looking at those videos, there's times where I'm like, that happened to me, and that happened to me, and that happened to me. And then I start to wonder, like, are we programmed to just make excuses to, like, just be like, oh, it's nothing? Like, one of the things that happens a lot is, like, duplicates of stuff. Like, you'll have an object that's one of a kind, and then now suddenly you have doubles or triples of them, right? And that's happened to me. Or I've had where, you go someplace, like if you have a kid and you have a stroller or a wagon, or you're riding your bike or something, and something you have a piece of it breaks off. But then you look at the thing that's supposed to be broken and it looks fine, but here's this broken part of it, and you're like, but why? How did this break off if it's still together? And there's lots of TikToks like that kind of weird stuff. Another one is like stuff that's kind of like Avalon, like, where people would wander like down the road, and then there'd be this path that was never there before. And then they kind of go down the path and they're like, I don't remember this. And then there's like, I don't know, sometimes it's like some other town or city where you interact with someone, or there's funny looking animals or whatever. And then they come back and they're like, hey, this place is kind of funny. I'll come back later and see it again. Then they go there and it's not there. So it's like this other pocket of reality just kind of pops up that reminds me of like Avalon, like where there would be like an island or a castle or something that's usually not there, but then now it's there. And there's even weird stories of people driving their cars where they'll drive down the highway from work and they're like, how did I get on this road? I don't remember this. But I've had weird stuff like that happen to me too. I've even seen like, I guess we could call them UFOs or whatever. I don't know. And then there's ones like you'll see them and then you just forget about it. Right? It's so weird. It just blinks out of your memory. right? Why is it blinking out of my memory though, right? The first time I saw something weird was in 1998. I flew to Germany, and there was this weird egg-shaped thing outside the plane, and it was like a chrome-looking egg, and it was so weird. And I showed everyone out the window, and I'm like, "Do you see that weird egg thing?" I'm like, "It's like freaking weird." And they're like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And I was like, "What do you mean whatever? It's a flying egg. It's a giant egg that's shiny. Like, you're just like whatever." I even got like a flight attendant, and I'm like, "Do you see that thing?" She's like, "Huh. Oh yeah." And then she's just like back to reality, like it's whatever.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, "What?"
That's such a
Right?
great response right there. Oh yeah.
Right? It was so bizarre. It was so weird. And then the following year, my boyfriend from Germany was with me when I was in Delaware, and then my brother was with me, and my cousin was with me. And it was out for whatever reason. A lot of times, UFO sightings from a lot of people happen in July, and it happened to me. That's how it was. And I was walking back from this general store in Delaware, and we were going down the road, and the sky was this beautiful, like, magentas and gold and orange colors, really pretty. And we got something, it's called like water ice. I don't know if they have that in other countries, but it's like this kind of flavored ice thingy, right? And so we walked home, we walked down the street, and the street like comes to an intersection, and the end of the other side of the road is a dead end, right? And as we were standing there, and it's still daytime, but it's like twilight, like it's bright twilight. It's not dark twilight. It's like very orangey, pinkish sky. And it's very hot. And there's like these pairs of green lights. And I'm looking down there and I'm thinking, when did they get traffic lights down there? And I'm like, but why would they have traffic lights there? That's a dead end. And everyone gets quiet. We were all talkative, right? And by the time we get towards the end where the intersection actually stops, I know they're all thinking what I'm thinking, and I'm like, what are those light thingies? So we start arguing about it, and they're like, oh, those are traffic lights. I'm like, no, those are not traffic lights. And then they're like, well, it's cars. And I'm like, no, it wouldn't be cars because it would be illegal to have green lights in your car. You'd have to have red, right? But then it goes from like 2 pairs of these green lights somehow to more than 2, like 4, right? But then they're kind of like moving around, right? And at the time I was like, that's so weird. And I remember we were just standing there and we were looking at it and we're like, that is really weird. Like, and we couldn't agree about what it was. And my boyfriend was like Christian. He didn't believe, back in the 90s, Christians didn't believe in UFOs. Now I feel like they're the popular group that believes in UFOs.
They're demons. Everything's demons, which, they're not even that
Right.
far off. Like, it's not like they're, in my opinion, I
Yeah.
don't think they're far off.
So we're standing there, and then I just remember just standing there for a very long time, and it was like at least 15 minutes, doing nothing, just being like, weird, what are those? Like, it was just weird, and we were just quiet. And then, just like that, just like all of a sudden, we're like, hey, let's just go home. So we just suddenly, it was just instant. Like, hey, let's just walk home. We walked down the street to where the neighborhood is and go to the entrance, and it was just unanimously, we just suddenly were like, we're going home. Then as we're going into the neighborhood, right, and it's still light outside, as we're going into the neighborhood, all of a sudden the neighborhood is like dark. It is like pitch black. What the heck just
Whoa.
what the heck was that? How did that happen? How did it go from like a bright sky, right, because it's still twilight, to like totally black? How did that happen?
Wow.
And so we walk to the house, and then by the time we start to get to the front of the house, we start talking about it, and we're like, what the hell was that? And I don't know. And I had seen, before we left, when we were talking about it, they were like, let's go see what it is. And I'm like, there is no way I'm going to see what that is. Because at the time I had seen that movie, Fire in the Sky. And I was like, you can kiss off. I'm not going there. And neither are you. So they got my mom to go in her truck, and they drove over to that area, and they were gone for a while too. I don't know how they were gone for a while, but to them, they thought they were only gone for a little while. And they said that they came back and there was like nothing there. They're like, there's nothing there, right? There's no lights, there's nothing there. Like, that's just weird. But the thing is, the part where my mom got into the truck and they drove there to investigate it, I don't even remember that. I talked to my brother, my cousin, and my ex-boyfriend a few years later, like about almost 10 years later, and they all told it very much the same way, but their concept of time was also different than mine. Like, they were like, oh, that was only like 2 minutes. And the other one was like, oh, that was only like 5 minutes. The other person was like, it couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 minutes. So what the heck was that? What was that?
I don't even know. I mean, the missing time phenomenon is just wild. It's really wild. Perception too. I want to add, like, this has happened about 4 or 5 times in my life where, in a few of them, I would say 3 or 4 of the 5 were profound, like where, like, it's a full moon out, right? Or like, exactly where the moon is and where it should be based on your driving. You're driving a certain direction, you know where it should be. It should always be in this kind of general same area. And I've had it where the moon, at least the way I perceived it, is not where it should be. Okay, if that makes any sense. And that really messed with my head. It hasn't happened a lot, but it's happened.
A lot?
I said it hasn't happened a lot. It's happened about like 4 or 5 times. Like, and so, and I'm specifically talking when I'm driving, because I know I'm going south. I know I'm going north. I know I'm going west or east or whatever. But there was one time when I was driving south, and I was, at the time, I was filming the moon constantly, following all the cycles, because this was during a time when I was trying to prove to myself that it was some sort of illusion or some sort of deception or some sort of, or at least it wasn't what I was told it was growing up. That's it. Period. That was what I was trying to prove. And so I had like, I don't know, like an hour and a half drive south or something, a straight shot south, straight shot. It wasn't, like, oh, I was flying off and going east or west or, like, no, it was just south all the way. And I'm telling you, where the moon was made no sense when I brought up the star maps and where I knew it should have been at the time, because the moon has these cycles that are supposed to be like ironclad. Okay. Yeah. And then when I got to the point where I was getting off the exit and going east to go home, another like 20 or 30 miles, the moon just, like, it didn't even occur to me until I had gone east and the moon was in front of me going east. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going south, the moon is in front of me, going south the whole way for about an hour and 15, hour and a half. And then I go east, and then it doesn't click until, maybe like 5-10 minutes into the drive going east that the moon is in front of me there. So it's like, how did that happen? How did the moon take such a rapid trajectory? And I'm not saying, and this is a time when I was following the moon like obsessively. All right. So it's not like, I'm just like half-ass paying attention, right? Like I'm looking at it, like in following it and studying it. And then, so that means like I'm literally keeping a good eye on it while driving that whole period while I'm going south for about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes. Then I go east, and it's just like in my like dead on straight point of view when I'm going east, when it was just to my west southwest when I took that turn onto a different on-ramp and went east. That was so freaking strange. And I've had that happen, like, you know, like that one was, you know, there's a lot of time involved. So like it was something I can say with certainty. The other ones that have occurred, like they've been not as much time involved, but still, like, I'm very confident, or at least pretty confident about what I experienced, and it defied logic according to what we were told or what we were propagandized with.
I've had weird experiences like that too. Like here in Massachusetts, when you get blizzards, they'll have this weird lightning thing that happens and then all the power goes out. I've never heard of anything like that. It's like this weird flash of light and then the power goes out for hours. I've never heard of anything like it. Every time I tried to research, I couldn't find anything. It happened many times.
Interesting. So what do you think, like, I mean, like, having experienced that thing with the moon, it really had me questioning. It had me questioning about perception, right?
Perception, yeah.
Like, so even though I experienced that doesn't mean that's like if you and I were in the same car that you would experience that, right? Unless maybe we were talking about it and gelling and connecting with one another and thinking outside the box, you know?
I figured we'd probably both see it. So I've noticed odd things myself in the sky. It happens so many times, but then you like make excuses for it it's like, because when you were talking about it, I'm like, why does this remind me of something? That like, I know if I see something strange and I'm with someone else, I'll be like, yo, but this thing, and what about that? And then they'll be like, yeah, that's weird too. Or they'll be like, oh, it's nothing. Or, you know, maybe it's just, you know, it's just a fluke or something. And a lot of times these excuses don't make any sense, right? Especially if you're with someone who's like, you know, some people who are like, they're not actually skeptic. They just don't want to believe something because it's weird. Kind of thing, like they're not a real skeptic, they're like a fake skeptic, right? Like, oh, I don't want to be ridiculed or something, right?
Yeah, it's like to me it's like we need proof, right? Like I need some sort of proof. Like I can't just take someone who comes on and shares something. Like if something kind of connects with me or there's some kind of pattern that connects with other things, like I can roll with it, but like I won't discount someone at all, but like
I'm interested in all of it at this point.
Yeah, like like there has to be something to back it up because it's a world of illusions, and if you can't,
it's definitely a world of illusions.
Yeah, if you can't have some sort of backbone and something to work off of, you can lose your fucking mind. And I've lost my mind multiple times looking at all sorts of stuff. Like I believed in all sorts of crazy, wacky shit. Yeah. Like and it's embarrassing looking back on it.
Oh. Well, you gotta learn somehow, I guess.
Yeah, but that's all about growth, right? And discernment, like fine tuning our discernment.
I have memories that I don't know why I have them because they don't make any sense. Like from when I was in high school, there was this group of kids in this. I went to a vocational high school, which is like a different kind of high school, and I was in this art shop. It was like a design type shop where you're supposed to be, learning a trade when you graduate. And there was these group of kids in there, and they were just not my friends. They didn't get along with me. They were kind of bullies, and I don't know. It was the 90s. And then one day they came up to me and they start talking to me as though we were friends, like we got along. And I was like, what do you want? And they're like shocked that I'm not like buddy with them. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Like what? And it was weird because it was like, they were like, why are you being like this? And I'm like, well, why? Like, we're not friends. Like, why are you acting like somehow we're friends? But then I have this other memory of like going to the beach with them, like in their car, and I was never friends with them. So it doesn't make any sense that I have this memory.
Wow.
And I had this memory being in the car, and then all these cars just stop on the road, and people are just kind of like, they have their head kind of down, like, don't look up. And there's like some stuff in the sky, but I don't know what it is because we're not, for some reason, we're just not supposed to look at the sky. I don't know why. And it's like all this traffic going to the beach. And every, you know, like in the 90s, how everybody dressed like, you know, like sports clothes or like, I don't know, like hip hop clothes or something like that, or t-shirts and stuff, right? With the baggy pants and, you know, whatever. And I'm in that car with these guys. And it doesn't make any sense to me because I know I wasn't friends with them. But then why did they come to my desk that one day and talk to me like we were friends? So was I friends with them in an alternate timeline? And it just sort of crossed that one day. I don't know.
That's an
But
interesting
I've thought
one.
about this. I've thought about it so many times, and I also like forgot about it. I was listening to some kind of podcast, like maybe like 10 years ago, and they talked about having these kinds of memories of their past when they got together as a family, and how weird stuff happened to their family. Like usually it's like abduction shit. And when they started talking, they're like, we're not supposed to talk about this, remember? And they're like, why aren't we supposed to talk about it? And then they started like having recall where they start remembering things. And when I started listening to them talk about it, that's when I started to remember those things. And I was like, it doesn't make sense though, because those were like the bad kids. Why would I hang out with those kids? Right? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but I remember those things. Like, it's just it's so weird. And it's also another one of those weird things of the sky. Like what was outside the car and what was happening in the sky. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just weird. You know?
Yeah, that's wild. And
That's
yeah, there's so many things that we just have no clue about what to do and how to act and how to respond, and then there's always the fear of judgment and shame and instead of like, you know, I don't like to, there's some things out there that I you know, I even I like, or anybody like can look at as crazy, but it's always important to keep an open mind too, because you don't know what someone else has experienced based on their belief system and their perception. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always bullshit or whatever, right? But like, it's always important to keep an open mind. Like even with the whole alien abduction thing, like I don't think it's space aliens, but I think
either.
it's entity being abductions or not even abductions, but like it has something to do with the astral, right? I don't think we like, I think the person who gets as close to the mark as possible is Jacques Vallée. Like I think he's a great resource. Like his early work, his most recent stuff, I'm not gonna lie, is like, you know, it seems like they turned him. I'm just gonna say it, right? Like that, like you gotta look at his earlier work, because it seems like that there was some sort of point where someone approached him and said, "Hey, stop it," right? But other than that, I think he's a wealth of knowledge. And his early work, you should buy his books and listen to his early lectures, and you'll see the connections between things like the Fae, the Jinn. They were things that happened with them in previous time periods were considered quote unquote abductions or negative experiences, right? So and all we're looking at. The quote-unquote aliens, the space aliens, have the same exact traits and means and methods that the Fae and the Jinn and on and on. Like that stuff correlates. Like everything is the same except the appearance.
Yeah.
So what's up with that? Why is everything almost
what's up with that?
exactly the same, with the exception of the appearance? And that kind of goes into a further theory that he talks about how quote unquote aliens or the beings that he documented with quite a bit of data, like not like he wasn't just throwing it out there and saying, hey, believe me, like he put newspaper clippings and all sorts of stuff that like talked about like the airships and how the airships appeared, and there were beings that came off the airships, and then there were UFOs right after, and then airships appeared, and then planes appeared, and they quote unquote crash landed, or they landed and shared certain information with certain people, like farmers in a field, and all sorts of stuff. And then like they were under trance, and some of them have negative experiences, some have positive experiences. But it was the same old song and dance. It was the same thing.
Yeah, why is it some people get like the happy, joy, and then other people get the negative? Or are we like,
I don't know.
Are we like chickens in a chicken coop, and we're like their pets, and they're invested in certain groups of us?
I think
like, do they just pick us up when they feel like it, like out of a chicken coop or something?
No, I think they're doing, I seriously, like, my vibe, especially like with the whole alien thing, was like they're trying to create a lore. Like some sort of lore behind them, like where like, oh, they could be nice, but they could also be assholes, like, and they could be parasitic. So those stories end up in newspapers or videos or documentaries, like later on, whatever. I mean, like in the whole thing with the airships and the alien beings that like. And then the UFOs with the alien beings, like all those things mimic past epochs of humanity that were involved with the Fae or the Jinn or even currently with those two, and other types of beings and entities. So to me, it's like it really seemed like, especially with the airship era, there was some sort of agenda going on, because there was all sorts of accounts of these beings landing. When humanity at the time supposedly didn't have any sort of flying machine or flying thing in the sky. And there was a lot of them. It wasn't just like, oh, it was just like, like one or two, or it was a lot. It happened, and they just landed randomly in farmers' fields, or just certain, like, kind of more isolated experiences, and they were well reported on, and they're plentiful. And then when you look at how those stories, in combination with the Fae, in combination with the Jinn, and etheric beings, and then how it like progressed into quote unquote aliens, if it fits the glove way too perfectly. So are we going to just sit here and say, oh, that they're definitely coming from alien planets? Or are we going to say, hey, like there are characteristics that line up with those past interactions that have, yes, the same kind of situations? Or are we just going to default to what the Matrix wants us to believe and just say, oh, they're space aliens. Like they're coming from another planet. They're not even coming from another dimension. I think they are literally native to this Earth. I don't think they're coming from anywhere. I think they're right here. They just have the ability to come in and out of this reality. That's my opinion.
Yeah, like, do you remember Mac Tony's back in the day? He died. He talked about, cryptoterrestrials, and he talked. It's funny. He said a lot of really good stuff, and now everyone talks about him. They don't even credit him. He died. He was like us. He was an artist and a very intelligent person, and he was forced to work it like as a barista. You know what I mean? And he's gone. He died, and it's sad. But a lot of the stuff that he talked about, it's so funny. There was so much pushback on the things he talked about, and now everyone talks about it. You know?
Yeah. Well,
I don't think it's space aliens. I really don't. It just when I was a kid, I did, but I
Same
mean, like
here.
the Drake equation, right? The Drake equation makes sense, and then there's like what the Fermi paradox or whatever. Like it's just there's too many conundrums, and if you're seeing it here, how is that extraterrestrial? That would be terrestrial. Also, you never actually saw it enter the atmosphere. You just saw it in the sky or whatever it is, right?
Or it manifested in your bedroom.
Yeah, or your bedroom, or any. It could be any number of things. It could be more than one thing, and not necessarily just a quote unquote alien. It could be you don't even know. It could be any number of just things we can't even conceive of. You know what I mean? I just feel like there's so many. It's like even in the things that seem the most true, there's still like lies in it too on the surface. You know.
Sure. I mean, you got to ask yourself. Anyone has to ask themselves, like, if what's interesting about the whole alien UFO community is that there is a whole kind of, like, if you start to get into it, and even if you're kind of deep into it, they try to make everybody feel special. Like, oh, you're in on the secret. You know, Black Uni, you're in on the secret. You know, Night Rot and Terry and Active Research and everybody, you're all in on the secret. And it's like, oh, they can't admit it. And you know what their pathetic excuse is? This is the most pathetic excuse imaginable. And this is, it doesn't matter whether it's Richard Dolan or it doesn't matter who it is. It's the same excuse like, oh, if society learned about what was going on, it would, you know, like it would implode from the core and it would be mass chaos. But yet, like religious belief, spiritual beliefs, the family unit, crazy in general, like just like off the chain belief systems or celebrity worship, all that stuff. Like if the like, let's just get real here. It would not do a goddamn thing. But yet the government wants you to think that you are in a special elite group of insiders about information pertaining to space aliens. And that the only reason this information isn't coming out is because it's to protect society. And that religious institutions and humanity would not be able to handle the truth of that realization. That's like literally the narrative that they continue to push. They've been pushing it for decades. Decades.
They have, I mean, it's like this weird secret society thing, like the Freemasons, or like supposedly they have some special knowledge of the ancient past or whatever, and they're the special ones.
They probably do.
And, you know, but in recent years there are people who are, you know, from lodges, and they'll go on live streams and they'll be like, well, we hired other people who are like historians to dig up documents because, you know, we don't know all the past. It's like, really?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a different topic, though. I mean, you're talking about Freemasons, like, you know, like,
but it's a similar thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I guess it depends. Like, like, kind of my observation of what's going on with Freemasonry is that, like, the majority don't have a clue of what's going on. And then, like, there's kind of like these secret enclaves that are influential and that they spread far and wide and do have a impact on society in a very negative way. But they cloak themselves as a whole, as an organization, to that they're doing good. Like, you know, like the Masonic hospitals and end of life care and all that stuff. So, you know, it's like it's a front group, right? But and then there are, like, a lot of people don't know this, but there are degrees above the 33rd degree. So, I mean, that exists, and anyone who kind of does some digging, like real digging into Freemasonry, like, that exists. So, you know, what can, like what kind of information is shared at that upper echelon and what types of groups are involved with that. And some of them are the movers and shakers. Some of them are the parasites. But then there's like a whole kind of group below them that are just like, they own a Chinese restaurant or they own a gym or massage, massage or some sort of physical therapy or, and like, like they're just trying to, get in on something, and they think, oh, by, getting involved with these demonic rituals, even though they don't know they're demonic rituals and kowtowing to the system, then that, they're gonna reap some rewards. And they may get out of some parking tickets and speeding tickets and get some free buffets once in a while. But at the same time, they themselves are involved in in multiple ongoing rituals that feed into the parasitic system, and they do not know that. They do not know that. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are some good people out there that just they're just trying to make sure that their business doesn't get screwed over, or they know that there's like some sort of protection, or like I said, like stupid shit like speeding tickets or parking tickets or whatever. But that goes for other stuff like Elks Club and
they're everywhere here.
There's all
Those
sorts
kind
of
lodges.
stupid shit like that. But when you're ignorant and you're young, or maybe you get recruited by some other business owner or something, like you're not necessarily thinking about it. Do you think that? I mean, seriously, anyone who thinks that anyone involved with these groups, like they're all like in on these like satanic rituals and trafficking children and stuff like that, fuck that. Like it's totally insane to think like that, because it's just not happening. Like it's the upper echelon. It's like what these groups do is they look for the ones that are parasitic. So if you're a parasitic piece of shit and you own like a whorehouse in New Orleans or something, like, oh, they're going to be keeping a close eye on you, because maybe you are the person that they'll like lift up in the upper echelon and bring you past the degrees that are not public, right? One book that really kind of lays this out, like, and how the memoirs of Billy Shears, like, and that goes into the whole Paul McCartney and I don't know, we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that alone, and it'll take hours. But it's how Paul McCartney was replaced. Anyways, that book there was a whole. It's a great book, right? And it exposes a lot. And he talks about how there's degrees of Freemasonry beyond the 33rd degree. And, he's a fraud. The guy has literally lived his life a fraud. So, and who knows what happened to the original Paul McCartney, but anyone who spends any time whatsoever looking into the whole Beatles conspiracy,
his voice. His voice print. They did his voice print.
The face, the hair. I mean, the fact that he was held in Japan. He was held in Japan and busted with pot, and they wouldn't let him go because his fingerprints didn't match. Like, why did that happen? What? Why was Paul McCartney held on marijuana charges and not let go for a period of time because, well, they knew it wasn't him. And like, even if you look, like, it's just like, I mean, and not only that, just the Beatles album. I mean, look, this is an insane rabbit hole. Like, I have a
It is. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
I have a video I'll put up. Here, let me put up this video. I mean, it's gonna take a moment, but just give me a moment, because it's really. Hold on, what's going on here?
I only knew the voice print thing. I remember I literally had a music teacher when I think it was in middle school, and we had a whole we had like a whole month of every day. Every week we had our music class. We would talk about the Beatles stuff, and she went into like the conspiracy stuff and some of it's kooky.
Oh, really?
But when she showed the like if you held some magazine picture up to the light, it showed a car and whatever and all these different things. And then there's like stuff in the visuals in the album cover, like he's wearing he's barefoot or something, right? There's stuff like that. But when they did the voice print thing, they said you can't. Yeah, the voice print thing pretty much is like, oh, case closed. Like, that's not the same guy. That's not Paul McCartney. That's some other guy. You know what I mean? And it's very convincing. It's very convincing that he's Paul McCartney. And then when you see the voice print thing, I was like, that is weird. That is so weird.
There's so much more to it.
Fingerprint thing.
There's so much more to it. Like, there's just, like, random people admitting, and even Ringo calls him hello William, like his William Shares, Billy Shares, William Campbell. It all leads back to quote unquote Billy. So I'm gonna play this video. This is a really old post. I don't know, when was it? I posted it 5 years ago, July 27th of 2019. So I'll post can you guys hear this?
Yeah.
Can you hear it? You can hear the music?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I suddenly realised that I didn't actually know how to set up a band. If you think about it, I'd never actually done it before. I joined the Beatles as an already set up affair.
So that's Paul admitting that he joined the Beatles as an already set up affair. He was a founding member. How did he join the Beatles as an already set up affair?
She didn't actually know how to set up a band. If you think about it, I'd never actually done it before. I joined the Beatles as an already set up affair.
The Beatles conspiracy is wild. Here's George Harrison.
Hello, Neil. How are you? Hello, George. Nice to see you. Very nice.
Hello, William.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Hello, Neil. How are you? Hello, George.
Hello,
Nice to see
William.
you.
Oh my God.
Nice. Hello, it's a vegetarian leather jacket. Yeah? Yes. Oh, is that a film?
Yeah, I've got you.
Oh, that's the one I can see. Go and turn it off. Yeah, I can see.
He doesn't want the camera on.
I've seen that sharp. I've seen the Android photos there.
Who is this? It's Stefan. Oh, is it?
Oh my God. I'm sorry for everyone for destroying your childhood.
We don't know that.
Oh, some other lady.
Oh, no.
Nice. Horrible girls, weren't they?
No, George, this is a very fine leg. It's a nice bit of stocking top.
Ladies of the night.
Just because you've graduated in the world. They're fine ladies.
So this is Olivia Harrison. This is George Harrison's wife saying, hello, Billy. I mean, come on. This is at George Harrison's memorial concert.
I'm sorry, I'm under orders here, man. When Ringo speaks, you move. What am I saying?
What's it like to be here tonight?
Starting with Ringo. What's it like? Hang on. What's it like to do what?
To be here to remember George.
It's lovely. No, excuse me. I've got to say hello to my friends.
Hello.
You all right?
You guys seeing the video? Hold on. Is video not coming through? Hold on. I'm sorry.
No, I see it.
I know, but maybe it's not coming through on... Is it not coming through on YouTube and Odyssey?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
on
Hold
YouTube
on.
it's not working. Oh, crap.
Damn it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not working on YouTube. Sorry. I apologize to everybody
Hold
for
on,
ruining your childhood. Blame me. I'm so sorry.
Run away.
Oh, God. It's not popping up. I'm sorry, guys. cannot see it on
Basically, we
YouTube.
saw a bunch of
You can hear
yeah,
it, but you can't see it.
yeah,
Okay, had it there
yeah.
for a second. Hold on. Let me try to figure it out. What screen?
Right. Oh yes, I see it on Discord.
Yeah, it's popping up on
wait,
Discord.
something's showing on. Yeah, see, it's showing on Odyssey, but it's not showing on YouTube. Oh, now it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. That is weird.
That is weird.
Oh boy. Well, you put the
Hold
link.
on, I'm trying to.
So right.
Yeah, but it's appearing somewhere, so I'm curious which. This is the type of shit I deal with all the time.
I know what you mean. I have glitches in my internet all the time. It doesn't make any sense. No one else's internet is weird, just ours. And here's another weird thing. I used to have Verizon, and we had like Fios and what's the other one? There's the Comcast one, that's the fiber optics, and there's the Verizon one. And we were supposed to get that, in the early Bush era. And then they would never give it to us, but they gave it to everyone else around us. And then they kept jacking up the price. So, and then it would always get like messed up. So I called them. I had to wait for a repair person to come. And this lady came, and she's telling me, yeah, they're never going to fix it. You're just going to get stuck with they're going to just keep screwing you with the price. And they have no intention of ever upgrading it. It's basically stuck in 2005. So I was like, okay, well, whenever I get the option to get that wireless thing from T-Mobile, the cylinder thing, I'm going to get it. So I eventually did. But then the following day, some guy came, and he's like, I need to repair your internet. I'm like, but it was repaired yesterday. He's like, no, it wasn't. I'm like, yeah, it was. It was this other lady. He's like, nuh-uh. And he goes out and he messes with it. But the one weird things that the lady told me when she was trying to fix the signal to the cables to take the internet to my house was, she said, do you have a surveillance thing? Do you have like a home security surveillance thing? I was like, no. She's like, there's some signal coming out into your internet. And I'm like, nuh-uh. And she's like, yeah, there is. So that was weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, I saw you just showed up, and Mao is back as well. How you doing, Ryan? Welcome.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was muted. Yeah, no, I came in during the alien talk, and then it was like the heated Beatles thing, and I didn't know much about the Beatles, so I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I didn't really have anything to add to it. So
yeah.
But I actually, Mark and everyone, I apologize. I would have been on from the very beginning, but can I just tell you something real quick?
Of course. Yeah, no, take as much time as you need, brother.
Now this is like a very interesting reason to be late for this chat. I connected with a guy on, one of the dating apps, and I was talking with him on the phone. I was like, oh, I got to get to a Discord thing, but yeah, I have time to talk. It was a 5-hour talk, and part of it was spirituality and stuff. This guy had an NDE from a skydiving accident.
What?
So I didn't get into the whole like, oh my god, every detail of the soul trap idea like right off the bat, because it was our first chat. But I kind of touched on it, and he was very interested actually, because he had a very strange experience, and I was going to run this by you, all of you, and see if any of you had any thoughts. His main issue regarding his NDE was how should I word it? He said that I think he was only unconscious for 5 days, but when he came out of it, also he found out they had to amputate part of his leg, by the way. He comes out of it, and he he remembered everything from his life before then. This was age 39. This happened, but he said everything felt like such a distant memory that it was like a previous life. And I know this is probably a thing that does get reported in NDEs. Of course, I'm newer to the material, so I haven't heard it as much. But I was just wanting to get your take on that, and it wasn't just that; it was also the what did we call it in the control stream? The time dilation.
Yeah, time dilation.
When he was in this, he said it was interesting. The water was present. He said it was like floating in a warm bath, and there was it just went on forever, but it was blissful. That was what he was experiencing while he was unconscious. But yeah, he said it's always kind of unsettled him that he kind of feels like he was put back in his body, but it's he feels like he's a different person because it's that life he lived up to that point, even though he can remember it, it feels like there's not even really an emotional attachment exes and family. He doesn't feel emotionally like things that would trigger him before don't trigger him now. He doesn't get upset about certain things oh well, it's almost like being an observer of his own past life. Well, not past life, but his life up to that point.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, honestly, when I came back into my body, everything felt unreal to me. Because when I left my body, and I left this reality, and I was in whatever that is outside of this, it just seems like nothing. And outside of it is this. It's this bliss or this euphoria or this other experience, and it was better than anything you can't even imagine what it's like unless you've had that experience. And the passage of time, it's not even time. I don't even know what to call it. I would just call it eternities, plural. And it was just time passed so long that for me to go back into my body, it was a shock. And I couldn't get back into my body all the way for a while. It was it was out of sync. And it was really frustrating because I had to go to work. And I had to get a shower, and my experience of taking the shower was in slow motion, and everything was just so strange. Wow. And I couldn't talk right for a while, and I had to just go to work and luckily it was one of those days where there's really no one coming in to watch the movie, because I worked at a movie theater. And I was so out of it, and I'm pretty sure that the people that I worked with at that time period were people that I knew somehow in other lives. I just knew. I knew that I knew them, and I knew that that's part of why they were there. And I also knew that I needed to kind of appreciate that time while I could, because I knew they were all going to break up. There was a lot of things that they showed. It's this, this review thing that people talk about. I saw a review also of the future, and I still didn't want to go back. I was like, I don't care. I'm not going back. You can't make me go back. But somehow they tricked me into it anyway. And I saw a totally different future. I saw that we saved the planet, and I saw specific types of politicians that were going to be after Clinton, and all of it, none of that happened. I saw my future. I saw my career. And it was detailed, and none of it happened. None of it. And I'm telling you, this stuff was so real. I was, when it didn't happen, I was really mad. I was so mad because they lie. People will give this reverence to things just because they think they're spirits or whatever. I don't even use these words anymore.
That they don't lie.
Arthur C. Clarke had he had these rules, and his third law was as a civilization's technology becomes more advanced, they become more indistinguishable from gods and magic. And to me, those things are not gods. They're not gods. They're keeping us in this thing. And also at this point, it's kind of staggering to me. How many freaking times have we been in this? I don't even know. And the concept of what we think of the past doesn't even make because you think you know history, but do you really? At this point, we don't know. That it's a conundrum and a conundrum and a conundrum. It's so vexing, you know. But I'm pretty sure that guy, he probably did experience the bliss thing, and that he was probably experiencing this experience of this amount. It's like you can't even imagine how to explain the passage of time, because it's not even time, and it just feels like a long, like, I don't even have words for it. It just seems so long, and it feels so good, and you don't want to go into your body, because when you go into your body, it's almost like a kind of numbness, you know?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So
yeah, that sounds like a similar thing, absolutely.
And the other thing is the readjustment period. Like it's a really big thing with others who have NDEs. Like they come back and they could feel all sorts of things. Like they got kicked out of heaven. They, you know, there's a whole host of things. But even if they don't feel like they got kicked out of heaven, they come back, and it's like, because it's such a lower perception state, they get depressed. They have a hard time processing and dealing with it. So Ryan, that kind of sounds like what your friend may have experienced, and you know, just throwing that out there, and yeah, like I think they really throw certain things at us, or at least experiencers. I didn't have an NDE, so I won't say us, but they throw all sorts of things at experiencers, and they're, how do you put this? They're very vulnerable when they come back, and like there's actual scientific, well, we'll say research data that, you know, has been done on this topic from specifically NDEers that come back, and on average it can be anywhere from 2 to 4, 2 to 5 years before someone readjusts to being in a human body. So
so it really can take a while.
Yeah, it can. Like it takes them, because it's such a liberating and free experience that they have when they're outside. Like it just, there's nothing to compare to it. And so when they come back, they're like, oh shit, why am I here? Like you know, I just want to experience this and that and this and that, and some of it's loving, or some of it's this or that.
Yeah.
You know, and here I am, I'm back here. Like, so that's not easy for some to experience, and it makes it difficult. Really does. So
yeah.
So yeah.
The bliss was so intense that he didn't really care when he came back here. He didn't really care that his part of his leg was missing. Like,
well, the other thing,
because you don't identify with your body, it's not really you. It's just it's just a thing. It's just a thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he definitely didn't feel like himself. There was definitely not a connection to the body at that point.
The other thing is, like, the divorce rate is high. So if you were married when you come back, or if like you were in a relationship and they're not kind of open to spiritual concepts beyond the body, then the chance of divorce, I want to say, last I read, it was like 75%. It's high, like really high. So the chance of you coming back and divorcing or breaking up with someone you love is extremely high, because you are trying to convey what you experience, and they are kind of, you know, for lack of a better term, shitting on it. You know, like they're not taking you seriously. So, like, that's a really big part of it.
Oh, it's so profound. It's very profound for people to not take you seriously. And I mean, like, it's like, well, I don't have time for you then, because it's like the most profound thing. Even a lot of times when you talk about it, you get this like emotional, like, it's so heavy. This emotion just takes you over. Because if I get too close to the details of the memory, I kind of break down. And I've seen other people do that too, like where they start going through the memory, the reminiscing, and then they start getting so emotional, like it's hard to talk. There's so much that happened. I mean, like there's like colors and light that you could. There was stuff that I saw, like music and sound that I can't even explain, and then other things that just seem so abstract that there's other parts of it that I can't even remember. Like it's blocked or something. Like I'm not allowed to remember it, or it's just been nope. You can't see that. You can't remember that. It's really cool. I wonder, like who am I really? Like who were we? Why are we here? Like what is the point of this? Because it's pretty obvious we're not really learning. Like this is like how many times you have to go through like all this tragic crap and stress and horrors and just over and over. And I mean, like it's not learning. It just isn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and he and I in our conversation did kind of get into that topic as well, like the whole, suffering, the whole Earth is a school, how it's bullshit, and he was certainly on board with that. So I'm not saying like I'm going to bring him in and have him join us for a chat, but like I think he sounded interested. I told him that I was into these kind of general topics. I kind of got into it slowly, and he sounded very interested. So we're gonna, I'm gonna keep chatting with him, and
cool.
I think because of like you were saying, how a lot of people, can't, I mean, I certainly can't relate firsthand, but at least a lot of people won't take you seriously, don't want to hear about it.
They think you're nuts. They don't know how to handle it. They think it's weird. They think you're on drugs. I think you have some mental problem. They think you're just a weirdo hippie. Well, I've heard it all. Like, I mean, there's literally, I told people, if you're a very open and friendly person and you tell people this, they're like, what were you smoking? And I'm like, no, that I wasn't high. Like, that really happened, like, and they just, I mean, I don't know, people want to think that there's a certain normal and that's what they are. And then when you show them that there's more going on than that, they can't handle it. It's like there's this axiom and they just believe this axiom and they won't challenge it, or like a paradigm, and getting towards the edge of that paradigm terrifies the crap out of them, and so they double back.
Yeah, so Ryan, so that's awesome, Ryan, that you may be able to have some deep discussions with somebody else.
Yeah,
and like for that to be our first chat, like we were just messaging on the app, and then he's like, oh well, give me a call. And I'm like, yeah. And then, we talked about normal, like typical stuff, but then somehow it got into that. And I was like, wow. And I told him, like, I was like, no, like, this is extremely fascinating. And then I kind of tried to get into a little bit of why. And so we talked for 5 hours.
Wow, that's cool.
That's why I'm late.
Wow.
So, I think, and he told me pretty much straight out, he appreciated that, like, I was actually engaging in such a conversation instead of just like humoring him, like I guess a lot of people had done.
Right on, Ryan. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. I think the chances are high that we will continue talking. I have no idea where it goes, but I mean, he's definitely like it's rare to be able to talk to someone like that on an app from like that kind of topic and perspective.
Sure. So that's really great. So I want to move on to Mao, and then we're going to kind of wrap things up for the night. So any closing thoughts, Mao? Anything on your mind, my friend? Take as much time as you need.
Yes, thank you, Mark. No, it was just lately I've been thinking about all these unbelievable madness that may take us to a nuclear war. Even though some people say that no, that's not going to happen. Other people say, well, it's not something that is that far-fetched. It could happen due to the conflicts in Ukraine and in Israel and whatever. And no, it's just that I've been thinking, well, I know that this place is fucked up, okay? But could it be that fucked up? And I don't know. My answer is yes, it could. Why not? So no, that's just my final thoughts for today. And I mean, who knows what is going to happen?
Yeah,
I think all bets are off as far as how fucked up it could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we just we don't know where things are headed, and I think the whole, I look at so many of the things that they throw at us, like World War III and all sorts of just endless things that they've thrown at us, and it's all to get us in the fear state. And like over time, I've kind of approached all this like, what will be, like, oh, they're doing bombs here, they're doing bombs there. I do think something's coming. I think there's going to be some sort of shift within the system. I don't think it's necessarily going to fully implode, unless that's what they want. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I have the answers, but at the same time, I think their entire agenda is to get us each to live in fear. So we shouldn't live in fear, because then what we're doing is we're kind of feeding into this whole system. We're feeding into exactly what they want. And we deserve better.
Exactly.
And you know what? If it ends, it ends, right? Like, it's, you know what? Like, okay, we get to leave earlier. Oh my God, what a shame. I mean, it's like, it's like, I'm not going to be crying, endless nights at that.
It's like being an introvert and they canceled the plans. You're like, oh, darn.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, we just, it's like, whatever happens, happens. It's like, work on you as an individual. We all got to work on ourselves as an individual and make the best of it and enjoy each day and try not to let this reality get to you. But at the same time, be smart, right? Like, I think it's really important to, have some rations at the house. Like, don't just have, a couple days worth of food or a couple days worth of water. Like, make sure you have stuff at the house. Like, so if shit does go down, at least you have something to use.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's really important. Like that way you can devise a plan. You have some water filters. Like, that's a big one. Have some water filters. Have some rechargeable batteries. Have some rechargeable solar, something with solar. Like, just have some seeds. Have some soil. Have some pots. Like, just have, like, canned goods, like canned soup. Canned bean soup, because it's like, like you got protein and fiber and all that stuff. Like, just have, like, things that are common sense preparedness items, so that if shit does hit the fan, that like you got a little bit in the cupboard to hold you over for like a few months or something, and there are ways to do that pretty cheaply. Like, it may not be organic or whatever, but it's better to have something than nothing. And if you can do organic, great. But I mean, definitely get some canned goods and some seeds and some water and some filters.
The important thing is, like, you don't have to leave the house for a while if shit is getting crazy outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's just common sense. Like, anyone who looks at this reality and says, "Oh, it'll be here and functional tomorrow," like, you'll be. Just think about what happened a few years ago with the stupid toilet paper. All right, I know it's silly. I know it's silly to kind of point out that, but that's just one example of one item where the system kind of collapsed. And you know what? That was all on purpose. That was all on purpose. That was, you know what that is? It's to say, hey, you know what? We got you so bad that, you're going to be screaming to wipe your ass in a few weeks. That's what it is.
Exactly.
How come that is the only item out there?
That was when I started keeping my month's worth of supplies on hand, was seeing how people reacted to that.
Yeah, it's incredible. But, just common sense preparedness, not out of fear, not out of craziness. It's just common sense. It's like we can't sit here and say, oh, we're going to rely on the system being functional tomorrow. It's just like, okay, right. I'm coming at this not from fear, but from common sense. And, if it falls, it falls. And I'll have my set of supplies and, have like a small little bug out thing, like if you need it, and a first aid kit, and some alcohol and iodine, and and bandages. Just have some just common sense. Like all this stuff can be done fairly cheap, and if it happens, it happens. Like, and if we can't make it past a few months, then it wasn't meant to be. But at least, exactly. Don't suffer. Mm-hmm. Get some propane, too. Like, get some, or like a small little grill if, like, you got a patio or something. Just get, like, a small little propane. Like, I have, like, a little camping propane burner. Like, I could cook up a can of soup in, like, 3 or 4 minutes or something. And you know what? You don't even need to cook most soups. Like, I mean, there's so many different ways to prepare, and just have some just common sense stuff set aside so that, if shit does hit the fan and they fuck with us, like, it's going to be okay. And if it turns into mass chaos, well, guess what? We're all dead. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, so what?
Like, who cares? I mean, it's like, you can only do so much. You want to throw in, you want to, point an AK-47 at my head and say, give me your soup. Okay, here's my fucking soup. Like, or just shoot me. Like, whatever is going to happen. Like, if it gets to lawlessness like that, then, it's only a matter of time before we all get taken out or something. But like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we leave the Matrix sooner, and so what? But at the same time, don't like be a pushover and have to be desperate either. Like, if that moment does come and then kind of resolve itself, and then inflation comes in and like they're charging, $20 for a loaf of bread. I mean, we've seen what's already happened with inflation. So all these types of weird things can happen, and just having just a little bit of common sense preparedness and not having a fear component can go a long way. So I think we'll leave it at that. I want to thank everybody tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining the panel. It's been a lot of fun and an enjoyable conversation. I appreciate you all. Don't work too hard, okay? This was Labor Day, or laborious day, whatever.
Yeah.
I almost got trapped in an elevator. That was my Labor Day.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah, the Labor Day elevator at my storage unit, which I was trying to reorganize, broke.
You got stuck in an elevator on Labor Day. Wow.
Yeah, almost. I managed to get out like just barely in time, but it was a problem. Like, yeah.
Garrett, I see you in the chat, man. Like, I sent you a message on Discord, brother. Okay. Well, let's talk, my friend. All right. Okay. So everybody, it's been fun. I really appreciate you, Ryan, Black Uni, Mao, and True Detective, and everybody else who stopped by earlier. It's been a lot of fun. And everybody in the chat on all the platforms, Odysee, YouTube, Rumble. Appreciate you all. Please consider subscribing if you're new to the channel, hitting like button, and sharing this video. The only way this channel is found is through viewers like you. And if you'd like to support the channel, I also offer memberships on Odysee, Rumble, and YouTube. And there's also a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter where I send out notifications every single stream. So please consider checking out the channel and sharing this content. Okay, much appreciated. See y'all soon. Thank you so much, and much love.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, friends. It was great.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.